and keep inviting them until they either tell you no that they can't, or they join us. So let's get a quick feel for what everybody's looking for to get out of today. Let me just really quickly. I don't know how to do this. Sorry. Well, this is weird. All right. Let's just get a feel for what everyone wants to get out of today. Nikisha, are you the host right now?
I think I'm the co-host.
That's so weird. Can you make Dan a co-host?
Yeah, absolutely.
So weird. It's not on my screen, but it must be on my other computer. But anyway, let's go around the horn. What's up, Bryce? Let's hear who wants to share with us first. There's only a handful of you on here early, but let's get a feel for what do you want to get out of today? Why would being more profitable be important to you?
We're all jumping in, Aaron. We're all jumping in at once.
Nick. Let's do it, Nick.
I'm just here to listen. This is my best year ever, and things are going really well for me. I just want to hear what they have to say. That's it. I have no complaints right now, to be completely honest. My taxes are great. My taxes are doing great. I'm looking forward to paying them, and I have the money to pay them. So, but I just want to hear what I kind of know what some of these people are doing, and I'm just curious to see if they're going to share them.
That's awesome.
I want to see how much they're going to share.
Love it. Oh, they are going to share everything. I mean, literally. I mean, Michael's got a whole bunch of things to share. Dusty's going to share some tax trips. Veronica's got a bunch of things with Dan, who I'm seeing just right below me on the screen. I mean, Dan sent me his P&L, and he sent a P&L that you guys should be filling out and whatnot. So it's about pretty much everything you could want shared. Right? Dan, you can ask whatever.
No, I have no problem with that. And I'm curious to know, what specifically would you like to know? I mean, put your question in the chat box, and I'm sure you're not the only one that has that question. I'm pretty open about everything, so just ask the question and I'll answer it.
Love it. So here's what we're gonna go around the horn, just get a feel for what do you want to get out today, and why would being more profitable be important to you in your business. This is for our vendors and the agents. Anybody, what would it mean to you, or what would it mean to you to be saving more money, to be building more wealth for the future? What would it mean for your family? Whatever. Let's just get a feel for why this is an important session today. So who wants to kick us off? I'm looking at a handful of you. You can raise your hand virtually or physically, and we'll bring you on. This is your chance, though. Who wants to go? Anybody?
This is Carol Ann. If you can hear me, I'm driving, so I'm just at a stoplight. It's to be more profitable means less time working for how much you're bringing in.
Love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Carol Ann. So who else wants to go? Like, what do you want to get out of today? Why was this appealing to you? What did you want to get out of it? I know people are continuing to join us. So as you join us in, you can either raise your hand virtually or physically. Make sure that you have joined us on camera. You've got your, we don't need you all unmuted, but we want you guys on camera because we're going to actually be calling on you. You're going to be involved. You're going to be in virtual breakouts. And it's super weird if we're staring at blank screens. But we won't shame you if you're not able to, like if you're driving or if you've got kids in the background or something crazy like that. So come on, let's get this thing started in a few minutes. But let's go around the horn and just get a feel for what did you want to get out of today? Why are you joining us? Why would being more profitable be important to you? Just raise your hand, literally like wave your hand in front of your camera, or you can hit that little virtual reaction button to rate. Okay, maybe raise your hand's not there anymore. Maybe they just have a thumbs up or a wave button or something like that. But do some kind of reaction. I'll call on you, or I'm just going to start picking people to get started, just because we want to get this conversation going. So why are you here? What questions do you have about profitability? What do you want to get out of it? Jeff, can I go to you, man? You cool with that?
Never shy, right? Well, first of all, we want to support our agents, right, that are trying to get themselves, more knowledge, get better, continue to improve, right, set themselves up for the new year, right, which we're all anxious to get to, right, January 1st. So 2020 is no longer here. However, 2020 has been good for some people. So, just a way to just soak up some knowledge. In my business, profitability is important. This has been a year where on the home warranty side, we've had probably 35% more service calls, all up, all in. That's because people are home, right? People are distance learning, they're home. So we need to find ways to become more profitable too. So any knowledge I can gain would be appreciated.
Love it. Love it. Let's go to whoever's closest to you. I'm just going to start calling on you guys. So Ariel, I see you there. I see you right. It looks like you're perky and you must have been up early and you're ready to roll. So what did you want to get out of today? Why did you join us here?
Being able to give back to my agents and most importantly, leaving a legacy for my family. So that's really important to me. So any growth will translate into my kids, my colleagues, and that to me is very important.
Love it. That's awesome. Let's go to Vic. You look ready to roll. Why is this session important to you? What do you want to get out of today?
I think it's important to understand ways to increase profitability without doing it on the backbone of staff, and also finding ways to add value to what we do for our customers. So, you know, I like to find profitable ways that allow us to increase our ability to serve our customers, but also I don't like to try and build profit on the backs of our staff. I hope that makes sense with what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. I think other people can relate to that for sure. So let's go to someone else. Who wants to share next? If you just want to raise your hand virtually or physically, I will, or I can just start calling people if that makes it easier. We're going to kick this thing out. Actually, you know what? We got enough people to get going. I think we could get this thing started in just a second, but let's maybe get one more response. I see Andrew wants to share something. So Andrew, go ahead, man. What do you want to get out of today?
Well, first off, I want to be able to spend more time at the 716 that you got there in the background. So that's definitely your virtual background. I'm loving it. So being from Buffalo originally. So, but I'm a new old agent and I'm really just looking to, you know, I don't need to be the smartest person in the room as long as they're the smartest person in the room is willing to share information. Love to know what's going on in the market. I've got a lot of things that I need to pick up. I haven't been doing a lot of sales and just really going back into the business and really just want to hit the ground running.
Love it. That's awesome, man. All right, who else? Let's get one more share here, and I'm going to start bringing up our sponsors in just a second. So sponsors, you're going to see that I'm making you guys co-hosts so that you guys can be brought up and you'll be at the top. But if you are a sponsor, I'm going to need your help, because when I make you a co-host, you're going to also get notifications when people are in the wait room. And if you happen to see one, go ahead and just hit admit on anybody there. So let's go ahead and, you know, Heather, you look ready to roll. You ready to roll, Heather? I'm going to let you kick this thing off. Let's bring up Heather with Pillar to Post.
Hello, everyone. Heather Hurry with Pillar to Post, the Jeff Mackey team. And it's always good to be here with all of you. I just wanted to share today, I'm super excited to hear the panelists and to pour into business, right? And also to pour into you. Knowledge is power. So as an affiliate here and a strategic partners, we are just super honored. As you guys know, Pillar to Post has been around for a number of years. So we're just looking to continue to service the Central Florida market with excellence and provide kind of like an extension of you. So let's have a great day.
Love it. Love it. All right, let's go to our next sponsor. And by the way, we'll talk a little bit more about these sponsors in a second. But for those of you guys that are just joining us, this is obviously put on once a month, the third Thursday of every month. We do Masterclass Orlando. We went virtual during the pandemic, and we'll probably stay virtual just one more time through the year. And I'm going to try to
otherwise it'd be really funny.
Fix that real quick. Let's thank you there. So anyway, all right, we're gonna try that again. So long story short, we're normally at Harry Buffalo, what you see in my background. We will be back starting next year, and we do these January through November. So the last one of the year. If you want to mark your calendars now, we'll be announcing this pretty soon. It's going to be on November 19th. That's 9:30 to 11. November 19th, we'll be back here on Zoom. For those of you that are in our top 500, there is a live event coming up on November 5th. So keep your eyes out for an invite, probably in your mailboxes and your inboxes in the next 24 to 48 hours. So if you're just joining us, we're going to keep going with some of our sponsors. I mean, they've got about a minute each to just introduce themselves, say what they do, but this entire thing is put on by Orlando Real Producers, which is a platform that helps connect the top 500 agents in the city with the most referred service providers. And the purpose of Masterclass is to build a bridge from the top 500 to the rest of the real estate community, as well as to continue to basically raise the level of professionalism and the level of education in the community without any, with total objectivity. So we have nothing to sell you. We have no board affiliation. We have no political affiliation. We're not recruiting you for anything. We just want people to get together and learn. And so there are 60 partners that make Orlando Real Producers happen each and every month. And they don't just make it happen monthly. They literally commit for several years at a time. So if you get anything out of today, or if you've ever gotten anything from Orlando Real Producers, the best way to say thank you is just to reach out to one of our partners. I'm going to actually have Nikisha drop in the chat box right now a link that has our most updated preferred partner list. These are literally the most referred service providers in all different categories in the city. And the best way to say thank you is find one of them that you can reach out to, connect with, maybe even use. So Nikisha, if you could drop that link in the chat box, that would be awesome. But we'll keep going. I'm going to bring up Vic DeVore. You're right next to me now, so I'm going to just bring you up, man. Let's do it. Vic DeVore.
There you are. Hey, man. It's good to be here. So DeVore Design, we do real estate photography. We do real estate video. We do also home staging now. We just started our occupied home staging services. We're going to have our vacant home staging services coming to you next month. We appreciate everybody's business. We make it easy to do business with DeVore Design. You can text us your bookings when you're at your seller's house. You can email us any time of day. You can use an online booking form and select what time of day and what date you want to schedule your services. We have next day delivery, and we go above and beyond when it comes to customer service. We've got a full staff. We have 25 people on our team now. We've got an office full of people ready to help, from video editors, photo editors, scheduling coordinators, and then of course our field photographers. And anybody that's done business with us, you know our field photographers are the most professional photographers that you're going to find in the industry. We come in with, right now we're wearing masks. We come in with branded shoe covers. We all have the DeVore Design apparel on. Our goal is to not just be professional for you, but we want to make you look like rock stars to your sellers. So I hope we can do business with you. DeVoreDesign.com. And I'll drop my contact info in the chat screen. So check out the chat screen in Zoom, and you'll have my contact info. Thanks.
Love it. Let's go next to Ryan Plaza with Home First Lending.
How you guys doing? This is Ryan Plaza here with Home First Lending, providing you the service you deserve with the speed you desire. Here at Home First Lending, we also call ourselves the conversion monsters. Over COVID, while everybody was kind of panicking, we locked down and built out a full ISA team to be able to leverage and convert all of your leads. So that's something that we could talk about offline. Also, we are a broker, not a bank. So if you're looking at that scenario that deal is a little tricky and it's on somebody's desk right now and you can't seem to get it through, go ahead and give it over to us. Let us take a look at it. We have over 50 different banks that we could choose from and make something work. So again, I'm Ryan Plaza, account executive here at Home First Lending. I'll drop my information here in the box. And if you need anything, marketing, business development, loans, contact me. I'm excited to give you guys a hand.
Love it. Love it. Let's go to Jody Seltzer with Celebration Title Group. Jody.
Good morning, everyone. Jody Seltzer here, Director of Sales with Celebration Title Group. Thank you for having us. I'm super excited for this masterclass. We are here always to support and elevate the real estate community. So we're Celebration Title Group. We obviously do real estate closings, but we do so much more. We provide a memorable closing experience to all of our clients, and we really pour into our agents to make sure that you guys are the best of the best and that we're supporting you and helping grow your business. So our theme for November is growth, or October is growth. So we are talking about a lot of growth this month. That means we just rolled out an amazing platform called Celebrate You. So if you go to celebrateyouonline.com, we have brought in all of our education into an online platform. It's very cool. There's lessons and you can learn at your own pace. So we'd love for you to join us at Celebrate You. And then lastly, if you guys haven't checked out our sign riders, celebration included with purchase, let me know if you have a new listing. We'll drop one off at your sign. So thank you again for having us. Jody Seltzer, Celebration Title, and have a great masterclass.
Love it. let's keep this rolling. We're going to give each of our sponsors just a minute, and make sure that, by the way, as they drop their stuff in the chat box, that you connect with them when you get a chance to, because really a minute's not enough to do justice to how awesome they all are. But I'm going to go to Bryce now, Bryce Morrison with Food and Wine Cruise Planners.
Good morning, ORP. Bryce Morrison with Cruise Planners and TT4FF. I just wanted to let everybody know that we are here for you. My wife and I are a husband and wife team, and we do full service travel advising, but we're also shifting a little bit because of COVID and everybody being so focused on domestic travel. We're also looking at some tour options. I'm actually meeting with somebody this evening about an extreme weekend tour coming up next spring. We're also looking at some tours out to France for taking over a bed and breakfast and learning from the chef and owner. Lots of cool things coming up. Bryce Morrison Cruise Planners. We help travelers find the very best in food and wine by land or by sea anywhere in the world.
Love it. Hey, Jeff, we didn't go to you yet, did we?
No.
Jeff with, oh, all right, that's what I thought. Jeff Velez with Old Republic Home Protection. I went to you for something else. Go ahead, man.
Oh, hey, good morning, everyone. Jeff Velez, I'm the Regional Vice President with Old Republic Home Protection. We are your go-to home warranty company. I think we execute, we do a great job as far as paying claims, and I've got support of Sabrina Serrano and Cameron Foster in this market. Both veterans, both very responsive. But I did want to let you know, so we're in a seller's market primarily, and as deals come together and you don't ask for the seller to pay for the warranty, or you ask for closing costs, for the lender and things like that, you can still protect your people. You can still give them the opportunity to add a warranty on post-closing and pay for it monthly. So it doesn't have to be paid in full like it does at a normal closing. You can give them the option. And if you want to reach out to me, to Sabrina or Cameron, we can tell you how you can execute that and get your clients the information so they can protect themselves post-closing.
Love it. Love it. All right. Let's go to Octavian, or actually let's see, who else we got here? Got one or two more. All right. Yeah, let's go to Octavian. Octavian Cantilli with Real Estate Imaging Pros. Go ahead, Octavian.
Hi. Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I don't do this a lot, but here we go. So yeah, I guess I should just talk about what's new with us. So first and foremost, I'd like to announce a new partnership with Systematic. So now, if you get a listing package from Systematic, it'll come with photos from myself or one of my staff. So a big difference between, at least in my opinion, a big difference between us and pretty much every other real estate photography company here in town is everybody that performs a service under my brand is full-time staff. And that goes a long way for customer service and quality control. On top of that, we are also Matterport corporate partner. So whenever Matterport has a national vendor that does work in Orlando, we execute that. And when we do Matterport, it's with their flagship 137 megapixel camera, not any other camera that doesn't have nearly as much resolution. What else? I'm here at the studio, finally got this done. It's been about a year, and here's kind of my OCD brain at work. I got Jesus over there working it.
Hey, Octavian,
yeah, that's it.
We got to kick this off.
I hope to talk to you guys later, and until next time.
That's awesome. What I will say about his studio is it's pretty remarkable. So if you want someone who is literally as particular as they could be about all the details in their studio of their photography of whatnot, definitely give that guy a call. Octavian Cantilli with Real Estate Imaging Pros. I'm going to give, if there's any sponsors that I have forgotten, go ahead and shoot me a message and I'll bring you guys back up after our first speaker, because I believe that is everyone that is on here, and otherwise I do not see you. So let's bring up our first speaker without further ado. is Michael Hellickson. Michael sold real estate for over 20 years. He listed and sold over 100 homes a month. He carried over, get this guys, 750 active and pending listings at one point in time. If you guys think that's pretty awesome, drop a "that's hot" in the chat box. So 750 active and pending listings at a time. He began his real estate in 1991. He's literally been in the top 1% of all agents nationally before he even graduated high school. That's pretty ridiculous. So at the pinnacle of his sales career, Michael and his team were literally the #1 nationwide out of over 1 million real estate agents and teams. Since then, he's been recognized as the #1 short sale expert in the world. He's spoken on all sorts of TV shows, Glenn Beck, CNBC, Dave Ramsey Show, Fox Business Network, among many other local and regional programs. And he's also the founder and president of Club Wealth, which is one of the most recognized coaching companies in the industry. It's a Club Wealth coaching and consulting. It's unique in the industry, and every Club Wealth coach has sold more real estate than the agents or the brokers that they coach, which is extremely unique. The only real estate company that offers you a double your money back, or double your income money back guarantee. And he says it is the #1 coaching company in the world for the team space. So without further ado, coming all the way from the West Coast, I'd like to bring up the man himself, here to speak about the 3 things that high earners do differently. You're going to want to take some notes on this one. Let's bring up Michael Hellickson.
Oh my gosh, what an awesome introduction. Thank you so much for that, Aaron. And hey, I want to start off by suggesting that you guys, in our industry right now, there's a huge challenge happening in our industry right now. Let me tell you what's happening. Everybody's having massive success, or the vast majority of agents out there right now are having a ton of success. Why is that a huge problem? It's a huge problem because for most of those agents, that success is not going to last. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that you have that success last throughout the coming years while other agents fall by the wayside. And we're going to talk today exactly about how you do that. And before I do, I want to thank Aaron for having me on today. And you guys, honestly, seriously, could you give a shout out to Aaron and the whole crew at Real Producers? Just say thank you in the chat to let them know that you appreciate them having these on. This is a big deal. Getting 100+ agents on a webinar like this on a regular basis is a big deal. It takes a lot of time, effort, energy. And Aaron, thank you very, very much for doing that and for inviting me to speak today. So let's get right to it. I'm going to recommend that you guys take lots of notes. If you don't take notes, you're going to retain at best 4% of what I talk with you about today. If you'll take notes, you'll retain 8 to 12%. Those of you that take notes and teach someone else what you learned today, you will retain between 18 and 21%. Now, that said, it's like a buffet. You're not going to love everything I have to say today. You might love a couple of things. You might like a lot of things. At the end of the day, what you've got to do is you've got to come out with that one thing that you're going to implement in your business. Just that one thing that you're going to make a change on that's going to move the needle for you in the next 12 months. So there's 3 habits, and it's very important that we look at these as habits, not just activities. But there's 3 habits that top earners, and when I say top earners, I'm talking about consistently top earners implement and execute on at a high level every single day, that are different than what moderate or underproducing agents tend to implement in their business. It's important that you not only learn the habits, but that you act on those habits and that you make them a part of what we call your perfect daily schedule. Now, your perfect daily schedule doesn't mean that it's going to be the perfect day every day. It just means that you're striving for perfection in what you do each day, and you're constantly tweaking that to dial in further and further and further the things that you're going to do habitually on a daily basis that are going to cause you to succeed. See, success really is a habit, right? Success is not something that you strive for. Success is something that you achieve every day. Whether you get it right or get it perfect or not, you're either moving forward or you're learning at some level. So let's talk about habit number 1. What is the first thing that every business owner on this planet has to do in order to have a viable business? If you think you know the answer, type it into your screen, into the chat. What is it that every single agent and every single business owner of any kind has to do at a high level to grow their business, to be profitable, to be successful? A business plan is great. That's not that. Oh, here we go. We got some people starting to type in some stuff. I like the plan idea, right? Now let's talk about the plan for a minute. Napoleon Hill says that what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, right? So yes, we need to be able to conceive what we're going to accomplish. And then we need to be able to really, truly believe we can accomplish it. But all of that's not going to get you there, right? That's not enough to get you there. Having a plan and being able to conceptualize what you want to accomplish is not enough to get you there. You have to get in the habit of lead generation. Now, lead generation does not necessarily mean that you've got to call cold calls or FSBOs, expireds, all that kind of stuff. In fact, the last 15 years of my career, I didn't do any of that stuff. The last 15 years that I sold real estate, I didn't call a single for sale by owner or expired. And yet we had the top team in the country with just 16 agents on the team. We were doing 120 to 180 transactions a month. Why? Because one of the things that we did was we transitioned from chasing business to attracting business. And the way that we did that was we automated our lead generation process. So in the beginning, when you're newer in the business, right, generally you start off chasing business. You start off doing things like cold calls and FSBOs and expireds and those types of things, because that's one of the easiest ways when you have more time than money to bring in business. Those are some great ways to do that. That said, to transition from chasing to attracting, you start to see your life transition from having more time than money to all of a sudden now, I've got a little more money than time. And I want to start just writing a check to get some business to roll in, right? Instead of me having to go to the effort of taking my personal time and trading time for dollars, I want to trade dollars for even more dollars. So that's what we need to do when it comes to our lead generation. Now there's over 2,000 different lead sources in real estate today. That's a lot of lead sources. You're not going to use all of them. What you need to do though, if you want to make a solid six-figure income in this business on a consistent basis, write this down. For 6 figures consistently in real estate, you're going to want to have between 10 and 15 lead sources. If you want to make a solid 7-figure net income, and we're talking about net income, not gross, and we're not talking about volume, we're talking about net income. If you want to make a solid 7-figure net income in this business, you're going to need between 25 and 30 lead sources that are all automated as much as humanly possible. Now, that sounds like a lot, but it's really not that bad. And I'm not going to ask you to implement them all at once. Now, there's a lot of things we need to understand about the different lead sources, but first and foremost, you've got to identify what lead sources are you going to use. Now, I don't have time to go into all the different lead sources. There's about 109 lead sources that we recommend to our coaching clients. And just so you know, our average coaching client's doing just over 200 transactions a year on average. And we've got people doing 6, 7, 800, 1,000. In fact, we've got coaching clients doing over 3,000 transactions a year. So I'm going to give you the same lead sources I give them. I just don't have time to go through them all right now. So what I'm going to do is later on, I'll give you a number that you can text in and I'll just send you the list. What I'll do is I'll send you 17 of our top 109 lead sources. That said, you've got to identify what your 25 to 35 are going to be if you're going to get that 7-figure income, or your 10 to 15 if you're going to hit that net 6-figure income on a consistent basis. All right. So once you've got your lead sources dialed in, let's just assume for a second that you've got lead generation on lockdown. All right. There's companies out there that figured out that the weakest thing that real estate agents do is lead generation, right? That's the place that real estate agents seem to struggle the most. And that's why companies like Realtor.com and Zillow came into being, right? They took our listings, they promoted our listings, all of a sudden they would get these leads and they'd sell the leads back to us at a premium. And we were all more than happy to pay for it because it meant we didn't have to go through that effort to generate those leads. Well, after they got that up and running and they started making billions of dollars doing that, they figured out that, hey, wait a minute, the only thing that real estate agents are worse at than lead generation is habit number 2, and that's lead follow-up. So write that down. Lead follow-up is habit number 2. Now, here's the real truth of the matter. I really believe that most agents are better at lead generation than they are at lead follow-up. That said, you've got to do both. Getting a lead does you no good if you don't follow up with it. And here's the real scary truth. Most agents won't follow up with a lead more than 1 time. The vast majority will not follow up more than twice. Furthermore, most agents don't follow up in enough ways over a long enough period of time. So what does that formula look like? I'm going to tell you all the important things about lead follow-up right now. Take good notes on this. There's 2 factors that you have to consider on lead follow-up. Number one is speed to lead. How quickly do you respond to that lead? And it has to be instantaneous. I'll give you an example. Most of you, if you're in Florida, know the number one buyer of Realtor.com leads in America, which is Robert Slack. I was talking to Robert the other day. We were talking about this year he'll spend $12 million on Realtor.com leads. That's one guy buying $12 million worth of Realtor.com leads for his team. And he's got about 460 some odd agents on his team, I believe, if I'm right on those numbers. That said, here was the interesting fact that I got out of Robert. I asked him, I said, hey, Robert, how fast do you get to each lead? What is your speed to lead? And most agents, when I ask them that question, they say, oh, I always get to my leads within 5 minutes. And by the way, 5 minutes was great in the year 2000. It is not great today. It is not great in the year 2020. It's bad, in fact. If you're waiting 5 minutes to get to a lead, 4 to 5 other agents have already contacted that lead, because even if you think it's an exclusive lead, there's no such thing anymore as an exclusive lead, because they not only went in and filled out the form on your site or Realtor.com or wherever they happen to be, but they filled it out on 3 or 4 other sites. And so they've got all these different agents contacting them. Some of those sites may have even sold the lead to multiple different agents. So in fact, last year, I believe the number was about 85 million leads in real estate and only 8.5 million sales in real estate. Do the math on that. So for every lead, for every sale, there's 10 leads for every sale. It's crazy. That said, Robert's answer was that he got his speed to lead down to 16 seconds. Now I want you to think about that number for just a second. 16 seconds is ultra fast, and you've got to develop an ultra fast lead follow-up system as well. So from the time a lead comes in, his team is on the phone with that person in 16 seconds. Now, the next thing is tenacity of follow-up, and I'm going to go into tenacity of follow-up in a moment, but first I want to talk to you about when you get an online lead. And by the way, if you get online leads right now, I want you to type into your screen online leads. I want to know how many of you are getting online leads. If your business is almost entirely sphere of influence, type in SOI. Now, I will caution you that if your business is primarily sphere of influence, and by the way, I love sphere of influence. I was doing about 190 plus transactions a year by referral when we were at our peak. But I'll tell you that was only 12.2% of our business. And here's why. In the last 6 years, let's put it this way, 7 years ago, 61% of the average agent's business came from their sphere of influence. That's past clients, repeat and referral clients, all that kind of stuff. We'll just call it all sphere of influence. 61%. Well, 4 years later, National Association of Realtors reports that that number dropped to just 41%. Think about that for a second. That's a massive drop. And the following year, we don't have the official number for the following year, but what I'm hearing is that it's somewhere in the 30s. That's crazy. Why is referral and repeat business dropping so dramatically for most agents? Can anybody guess? If you know, type it into the chat. I'm seeing a lot of people that are getting both online and sphere of influence, some people that are getting mostly sphere, but type into the screen if you think you know the reason why most or why a lot of this repeat and referral or sphere of influence business is going away. What's causing that? Okay, I'll give you the answer. Write this down. 92% of all buyers start their search online. Now think about that for a second. 92% of all buyers start their search online, and fully 72% of those work with the first agent they come in contact with. That's mind-blowing. Think about that for a second. Have you ever had a transaction with somebody and you think to yourself, how did anybody pick that knucklehead as their agent? Why would anybody choose this person? Right? We've all had a transaction like that with somebody at some point in time. Well, that's how, because they just work with the first agent they come in contact with that doesn't drop the ball on follow-up. So what does this mean for you? It means that you've got to get really good at not only generating online leads and other sources as well. We want to diversify our lead sources. We want to increase how many people we get by referral while simultaneously getting far more business from all of our other sources. As we do that, we need to follow up tenaciously. So here's your follow-up plan. Write this down. We're going to start with the Club Wealth rule of 3. All right. So I'm going to follow up with them in 6 ways. And I'm going to follow the rule of 3 in doing so. So here's the 6 ways you're going to follow up. Write these down. Phone, email, text message, video email, video text message, and my personal favorite, Facebook stalking. Now, I say stalking because, you know, a lot of you are probably thinking to yourself, well, man, stalking sounds like a 3 to 5 year sentence. Well, not anymore. Now it's a 6-figure income. You're going to have to stalk people on Facebook. You got to get to know them. You got to connect with them, and they got to connect with you. So I want to make sure that I'm getting to know them on Facebook. Now, all 6 of those ways need to be cultivated, right? Because we don't know how people are going to respond. We don't know where their attention is going to be. We want them to see and experience us in each of those 6 ways. And we want to, again, follow the rule of 3. So here's the Club Wealth rule of 3. Write this down. I'm going to follow up with them 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, and 3 times a month for the next 3 months. I'll give that to you again. 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, 3 times a month for the next 3 months. Now, some of you are probably thinking, oh my gosh, Michael, that sounds like so much. That's crazy. It's too much follow-up. They're going to get upset with me. Here's the reality. They won't. They won't. And now, if you get a hold of somebody the first try on the first day, are you going to call them 2 more times that day? No, of course not. That would be irritating. Okay, we're not going to do that. But what you are going to do is you're going to continue to follow this follow-up schedule until you get a hold of them. And once you get a hold of them, then you'll be able to determine what should my follow-up be going forward. If they tell you, I'm ready to buy in 6 months, great, I'll follow up with you in 3. Whatever they give you, you're going to cut it in half and you're going to follow up with them then. In the meantime, you're going to continue to retarget them on social media. And if you don't know what that is, we'll teach that at another time. But you're going to continue to retarget them on social media. And you're going to continue your value add drip campaigns during that time. So we're not going to hammer them with, are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to sell yet? We're simply going to follow up with value add throughout that period of time until it's time for our next phone call. All right. This is super important. And thank you, Danny, for posting those 6 ways to follow up. I appreciate that. So I'll give you that schedule one more time. 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, 3 times a month for the next 3 months. Aaron, how am I doing on time? Aaron, did I catch you? How much time?
I just want to make sure I was unmuted. You got 5-6 minutes.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to hustle through this then. All right. So let's talk about an initial lead follow-up. A lead comes in from the internet, right? What do I do? The first thing you do is you pick up the phone. Before you look up the lead or anything, you pick up the phone, you call it, right? Don't even try and research it or figure out who they are, what they're asking for. Just call them. Get on the phone. Now, if they don't answer the phone, don't leave a message, right? You're going to then do what we call a double dial. Write that down. Double dial. So you're literally going to hang up the phone. You're going to call them right back. And then if they don't answer again, you're not going to leave a message again. You're just not going to leave a message. You're going to then send them a text message. I'm going to give you a 3-word text message. There's 2 3-word text messages that are going to get them to respond to you 83% of the time and pick up the phone. This is huge. Okay. So first of all, how many of you are parents? Raise your hand if you're a parent. I'm just looking at everybody's screens right now. If you got kids, raise your hand. Okay. You guys are going to like this. I love it. All right. So check this out. Someone calls you from a number you don't recognize. You don't answer. They don't leave a message. Then they call you right back. You don't answer again. They don't leave a message. And then you receive the following text message. Is this Kim? Right? Or whatever name they registered with. You just give them, that's the 3-word text message. Is this, and then whatever name they registered with. So Kim gets this message. Kim's thinking to herself, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Who is this person? So she responds back almost entirely every single time. Her response is going to be, yes, who is this? To which you respond with another 3-word text message. Very simple. Calling you now. Super simple. Now, what's going through Kim's mind? Oh my gosh, one of my kids is either in jail or in the hospital, depending on which kid it is, right? So she's curious as to what's going on, right? Because she's thinking it's either a medic or a freaking police officer trying to get a hold of me or whatever. So all of a sudden now, you're no longer chasing business. You're all of a sudden attracting her to actually pick up the phone. So now when you call again, which you do immediately, she will pick up the phone. 9 times out of 10, it's a wonderful conversation. 1 time out of 10, she'll say, oh my gosh, you had me so freaked out. And your response is simply the following. Oh my gosh, Kim, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to freak you out. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't dropping the ball on my end. You had reached out to me on 123 Main Street, and I just wanted to make sure that I got you all the information you wanted. And if you like, I'd be happy to set up a time to show it to you. Which would you prefer? And just let the conversation happen. Don't force it. Don't try and make her jump through hoops. And if she wants to see the property, the worst thing you could do at this point would be to make her jump through hoops. Most agents want to make them get pre-approved before they take them out and show a house. That's the worst thing you can do. We call that sales prevention 101. Why? Because we're in a service industry and you're telling them, hey, before I can serve you, you got to jump through a whole bunch of hoops. Hogwash. Serve them. Give them what they want. You want to see the house? Fantastic. See, here's the thing. Drug dealers know more about selling their product than real estate agents do, right? Why? And then, by the way, I've never done drugs, so don't freak out about me using a drug dealer reference. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter is, here's the dumbest group of people on the planet, and yet they're better at sales than a lot of real estate agents. Why? Because they know the following. First one's free, then you got to pay. Write that down. First one's free, then you got to pay, right? They get them hooked on the product. Well, ask yourself, what's my product? Your product is not the house. Your product is you. You are the product. And the way they get hooked on you is you got to get voice to voice and, more importantly, face to face with them as quickly as humanly possible. And when you do that, they get to experience you and they're more likely to do business with you. All right. And that brings us to lead conversion. That's the third habit. So lead generation is the first one. Lead follow-up is second. Lead conversion is the third thing that you've got to be in the habit of doing on a daily basis. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to give you this, and then I'm going to give you that list that I promised you. Lead conversion as a habit looks like a minimum of 1 to 2 appointments every single day. You have to schedule 1 to 2 appointments every single day in this business. If you fail to do so, and when I say appointments, I'm talking about with new clients you have not met yet before, okay? So your goal has to be 1 to 2 appointments a day if you want to make somewhere in the 6-figure range. If you want to make 7 figures, you're going to have to get to 3 appointments a day. And one of those is going to be a recruiting appointment. We'll go into that another time. But understand this, if you fail to get consistent, especially right now when times are good, if you fail to maintain the consistent habit of setting 1 to 2 appointments a day, you're going to go through the economic or income roller coaster that most real estate agents go through. And you're going to find times where all of a sudden, because you've dropped off on your lead generation and your appointment setting, all of a sudden now you don't have business coming in and you start to panic. And that's when a lot of agents end up having to get out of the business. And we don't want that to happen to you. So avoid that happening by setting that 1 appointment a day. All right. Aaron, can I give that list of lead sources to him now?
Absolutely. And if there's any resources you want to plug or that you want them to be able to follow up with you with, if there's any places you want them to follow you or how to get in touch, I'd love to put that in the chat box as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not selling you guys anything today. At the end of the day, we just believe in providing tons and tons of value. And at some point in time, you'll be interested and you'll find us on Facebook. We've got a big Facebook group that you can find us on. We've got a website that's got tons of great information, lots of blog posts. Like if you want to learn deeper level on some of this stuff, you go to our website and on our blog there, each of our blog posts is not like a little teeny blog post. There's usually a 20 to 40 minute video there of me teaching each of these different principles and different things that you need to be doing in your business without a pitch. So that being said, for the lead sources, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you, if you'll do this right now, normally, if you wait until after we're done today, I'll send you the 17 lead sources. If you do it right now, if you grab your phone, literally pick up your phone right now, send a text message with the words Club Wealth, send that message, Club Wealth, to the number 727-287-5993. 727-287-5993. Send the words Club Wealth, 2 words, to that number right now, and I'll send you 31 of my best lead sources. If you wait until after I leave, which is going to be in about a minute, then we'll still send you 17, but to get the 31, you got to do it right now. So grab your phone right now, send that text. And why do we do that, by the way? Because I want to incentivize you to take action now, to take massive action. By the way, one thing you'll learn in life is that the people that are quick to take action and slow to change their mind are the most successful in this world. Those that are slow to take action and quick to change their mind do not succeed at the same level as those who do. All right, that said, Aaron, thank you so much for having me on. I hope you guys learned a lot today. I hope you guys found that one thing that you'll implement. So think about what I just spoke about. What's the one thing that you will implement right now in your business, no matter what? And, Aaron, let me just throw one last thing at Adam.
Yeah, drop that one thing in the chat box, guys.
All right, so, and then let me share this last thought with you guys.
If your camera's on, give them a little, we won't hear it, but we'll see it.
Sounds good. I appreciate that a lot, Aaron. Thank you so much. Let me just give you guys one last thing. When you send that in, here's what we're going to do. When you send that text, we're going to send you those lead sources. Then I'm going to have one of my team members just give you a quick phone call to make sure that you got it. When they call you, they're going to probably ask you the question, would you like a strategy session with one of our coaches? We have over 80 coaches at Club Wealth. All of them sell more real estate than the people they coach. So if you're already doing 100 transactions a year, we've got a coach doing 2. If you're doing 2, we've got a coach doing 5, et cetera. When you do this strategy session, it's a 55-minute call with one of our coaches who's doing more business than you that will literally pick apart your business, figure out what's working, what's not working, where you need to improve, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, and give you a roadmap for your next 12 months. We'll do this for you one time per year, absolutely free. So if you want to have that, just tell them yes.
Love it. Thanks a ton.
All right,
Let's
man.
give a round of applause to Michael Hellickson. Thanks for joining us today, man. Appreciate you. And we're going to go right into our next one just so that, because we got a lot to get through. That was amazing, and he had a lot of great content. I'm going to bring up Dan Grieb next, who's renowned, and he's one of the top performers in Central Florida. His team sells hundreds and hundreds of homes a year, which is not in his bio, probably for a reason, because that's not what he prioritized. He's renowned in the industry not only for his real estate accomplishments, but he's also a coach. He's been featured in Orlando Sentinel, Wall Street Journal, Fox 35, Florida Realtor Magazine, Broker Agent Magazine. He ranks in the top 1% of realtors in the U.S. He's part of Gary Keller's top 100 mega agent mastermind group. He's a certified life coach, a master practitioner in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, among other things. But right now, one of the coolest things is he's completed 4 Ironman half, at least 4, probably more by now, 4 half Ironmans and 1 full Ironman. And he's living proof that you can truly do 90%. Sorry, that life is truly 90% what you make of it. Totally screwed that up. But let's bring up Dan Grieb, because he's got some awesome philosophies to share with you about profitability. Dan, are you, let's do it, man. Let's give him a round of applause, y'all. Just clap in front of your cameras. All right.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me, Aaron?
I can hear you. Go for it.
Hey, guys. I'm excited to be here. Obviously, I don't get that often to speak to folks that I know here in Orlando. So the opportunity to do that today is an honor of mine. And, one of the things I'll tell you right now is, as we talk today, we're going to talk about something that's a little bit boring to some people, but so key important. And that's, having great financial discipline, especially when you're making more money than you've ever made before. And right now, Michael Hellickson, who I've known for a long time, said it. A lot of agents are having the best years of their career, and they most likely won't last unless they start developing some great habits. Well, one of those habits that a lot of times our industry doesn't talk about is profitability. Aaron asked me to come on and talk about profitability, and I'm going to tell you that this is life according to Dan Grieb. This is real estate according to Dan Grieb. This may not be your philosophy or the next speaker's philosophy. This is my philosophy after, being in the business 16 years and selling, a little over 3,000 houses, what I've experienced. And I'm going to tell you, I'm 46 years old. I'm the only income earner for my family. I have been for the last 18 years. And I've fallen for a lot of bad traps, Aaron. I got into real estate from being a police officer, making just enough money to be broke all the time. In my first year in real estate, Aaron, how much do you think I made?
Not a ton.
No, I did. Actually, the worst thing that could possibly happen did happen to me. I went from $45,000 to $55,000 a year. My goal was to sell 20 houses and make $100,000. I sold 42 houses and made $242,000 my first year in real estate. My second year in real estate, I sold 70 houses and made a little over $300,000. All right, now I want to just kind of, while I'm looking at the group here, how many of you here think I raised my hand? Raise your hand. Think I saved money for taxes that year? Year 1, did I save any money for taxes? Nope. Year 2, did I save any money for taxes? Nope. Did I buy a BMW? Yes. Who was my financial advisor? A real estate agent. Another real estate agent was my financial advisor. Did I buy the most expensive house in the neighborhood? Yes, I did. And Aaron, that's an honor that I'm happy to say 16 years later, I still have today. I paid more for a house than anyone has ever paid in the neighborhood that I bought it in, and I still own that honor today. That home today is worth probably $250,000. I bought it for $325,000 in 2007. And it went all the way down to $140,000, $110,000 when I got foreclosed on. And then it worked its way back up to $140,000, $190,000, got foreclosed on a second time by those folks. And now it's still not worth, $300,000, and I paid $325,000 for it. Well, where does this all lead to, guys? This all leads to what's the next steps in our lives. And here's what I came up with in that season. Now, first, I'd like to tell you guys just philosophically, I believe, number one, life is 10% about what happens and 90% about how we respond to it. Number two, you're at the place at the time experiencing what you're supposed to be experiencing, going through what you're supposed to be going through as preordained by the God of the universe. So if you're going through a tough time, you ask yourself these two questions. God, what are you preparing me for? Or God, what do you need me to learn right now? And in the season of me making a lot of money and then losing a lot of money and going from being a police officer making just enough money to be broke all the time to rich to back to being worse than I was when I was a police officer, that was the season of preparation. I'm the product of a single mom. I'm a product of lower class Irish descendants from New York who really was told I wouldn't amount to much. And now I'm my family's first millionaire. And where did I learn that? In the Valley season. I learned that because I had to learn to become disciplined with money, because now I owed the government over $70,000 in IRS back taxes. I had my house foreclosed on. I had my car repossessed. I lost everything, and I had to learn how to manage money. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to share with you guys some philosophies that I've learned over the last 16 years of real estate when it comes to money. Is that okay? Just shake your head with a yes. Okay, if I'm speaking about your life too, like, hear it. Number one, and again, this is life according to Dan Grieb. Do not go back to your brokerage and say, hey, I want to do it this way or I want to do it that way. Just think about it. You know, if what I say makes sense, try it on, wear it. If it works for you, do it. If it doesn't, you know, skip it, do what other people are doing. Number one, you have two choices in real estate, especially in this environment. You can be famous or you can be rich. You're not going to get both. So pick one. Okay? If you, with the advent of Facebook, social media, Twitter, Instagram, you have a great opportunity to be well known. And our industry actually feeds that very well by giving you an award. Do you know, guys, where I was the #1 agent in my office and I drove a $500 car. I was selling more houses than anyone else in all of Central Florida at the time. And yet I was $70,000 in IRS debt and over $500,000 total in money that I had to pay for foreclosures, bad investments I made, just mistakes I had made financially. And every month I would get an award for what? Top volume, number one listing agent, most units closed, most units sold. Do any of those actually get you translate to paid bills? No. Whose office here, by raise of hand, and I can only see a few of you guys, I can't see all of you, but whose office here gives you an award for being the most profitable real estate agent? I'm not seeing any hands get raised up. Who here has seen a National Association of Realtors event where they march up and say, this is the most profitable real estate agent in the country? Who's the most profitable real estate agent in the state? Who's the most profitable real estate agent in the, and even, and Andre Bustamante said none. Another top agent in our area that understands money, right? There is no focus on profitability. There is a focus on units sold, volume closed, other things like that. So what does that lead you to do? Listen, we all enjoy fame. We all enjoy being edified. So if you're going to get an award for the most listings, you'll get the most listings. And that means in some cases, there are people that spend, use a round number, $600,000 on marketing, and they make $700,000 total for the year. So they say, hey, look, this guy made $700,000. He didn't make $700,000. After taxes, he made $60,000. Like, is that really the number that you want to be hitting? There's a saying, it says, if you aim small, you'll miss small. And if you aim big, you miss big. Well, what are you aiming for? Are you aiming to be profitable? Are you aiming for true wealth? Or are you aiming to be famous? Are you aiming to get the most listings, an award for the most listings, the most volume, things like that? These are real decisions we have to make. Now, the next thing, again, this is controversial, and I'm known to be a little controversial, so forgive me. And again, just wear it if it's you. In real estate, guys, you don't have a business. The majority of us, including me, I don't have a business. I have business consequences and I have a business set up, but I don't have a business. And as soon as we come into real conversation about that, is when an understanding of that is when we can structure our business for such. Number one, we have business consequences. If you do not structure yourself as a business with the IRS, you'll have to pay higher taxes. That's a fact. You don't create an LLC or PA for yourself, and you take that all money into your social security number as opposed to a tax ID number, you're paying more money in taxes. One of the guys later will talk about that. If you don't pay your taxes, they will take things away like your car, your house. They will lien you. They will take the money out of your bank account. All those things I've learned firsthand. However, when you start talking about a business, the majority of us, there's a few people on this call, I've seen a few of them here, we don't have anything that's sellable. So if we start amassing a big team or we start amassing something, no one's going to buy it. I know that for a fact because I walked around my own office. I asked the top salesman that works on my team, he makes $200,000 a year working with me. And I said, hey, listen, if I decided to retire, would you still work here? He said, no, I would go do my own thing. I went up to my top administrative person. I said, hey, listen, if I decided to retire, would you still work here? She said, no, I'd probably go do something else. I said, really? She said, why? She said, because I'm here for you, Dan. I love you. I love what we have. And if you left, that piece of that puzzle would leave. I don't know that I'd want to be part of that. And that's the way it works with a lot of small businesses. We live in a transient business here where it's largely dependent upon us. So we change our focus from building a saleable asset, because we don't have real estate brokerages. Property management companies are saleable assets, by the way. But real estate teams usually aren't. Real estate books usually aren't. And then you go over here. Well, yes, I'll talk about culture in a second. And we go over here to, we have the amazing ability to have huge margins in our businesses, in our lives. Listen, I have a business where I coach businesses other than real estate agents. I do real estate agents as well, but I coach other businesses. Do you know that if I can get those businesses to 20% profitability, they are totally happy. 30% profitability is knocking it out of the park. As a real estate agent, you can start pushing 50, 60, 70% profitability on your year-end numbers as a real estate agent. Those are tremendously huge margins that put tons of cash in your hands today. When you make that type of cash, what do you do with it? Do you have a financial plan? Here's a book I brought for you guys to look at. It's called the Finish Rich Workbook. It's a quick workbook that you can flip through to create a financial plan. The reason why you have a business is to fund a perfect life. And for me, that is the whole reason why I do this. I made a commitment to my wife when we first met that if she wanted to stay home with our kids, which is what she wanted to do and raise a family, that I would provide for her. I realized by working a 9-to-5 where I traded my time for money, that wasn't going to happen as a police officer. I got entrepreneurial and started off in real estate, made a lot of money, made a lot of bad decisions. And now I'm happy to report to you guys today that I'm completely debt-free. I owe no one nothing. I'm my family's first millionaire. I 100% pay for my mother. I bought her a house. I take care of her. I have a young daughter that I adopted from Venezuela, who I'm paying for her to go to college right now. And I'm going to pay for her wedding next year in November. All because of this amazing thing we call real estate agent. And guys, I don't own a real estate company. I have a real estate team. I'm a real estate agent like you. My license doesn't say on it, Dan Grieb, 7-figure real estate license. It just says Dan Grieb, real estate agent. Now I'm a broker, but I'm not the broker. I just am a broker. I have a great broker at Keller Williams. She handles all that stuff. I handle the sales. We've got to get focused. And for the men and women on this call, here's my challenge to you. And I think Aaron wants to ask me some questions. Here's the challenge I have. If you're going to be away from your family, you owe it to them to make as much money as possible for every hour you're away from them. If you're just trading $25 per hour or $8 per hour, you could do that with security. You don't have security right now. They don't have security in an entrepreneurial endeavor like real estate. So you work your tail off to make a lot of money, and then you work your tail off equally to keep a lot of money so you can invest it and retire young and retire rich. Now, some of you are like, Dan, I'm not young. Here's a book called Start Late, Finish Rich. Read that. I hope this helps you guys. Aaron, I know you might have some questions for me, or there might be some questions that want to come up. I want to leave some time. That's my story. Guys, here's what I love about being in Orlando. I'm actually here in Orlando. You guys can verify with what I'm saying is true. If you come to my office, I'll physically show you my P&L. I'll physically show you exactly how I wrote it up. I provided Aaron with my P&Ls before he asked me to speak. He said, Dan, would you speak on profitability? I said, yes, but under one concept. He goes, what? You can tell everybody you saw my P&L and that I'm profitable.
Yeah.
Most people are unwilling to do that because they don't understand they don't understand profitability. Go ahead.
All right. Love it. So one other thing that I want to ask you about, Dan, because we're running low on time, and we may, even if Dusty's killing it, for those of you that want to stick around, we may just keep that thing going. But Dan, I know you went through the blank P&L. In fact, I'm going to drop Dan's blank P&L. Hopefully, I'm going to type this properly. And if I screw this up, Nikisha, help me out and drop the blank P&L in the chat box. Yeah, I don't have it here. So Nikisha, if you could drop it, perfect. If you guys look, Dan's P&L sheet is in the chat box. It's a blank sheet that shows exactly what your P&L should look like and what areas you should be filling out. And I'm confident that if you want yours reviewed or you want help with it, that Dan would be willing to review your P&L. Dan, what's your email? Can you drop it in the chat box?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. It's dan@hometosell.com, and I'll do that for you once we're done.
Okay, perfect. But if you need the P&L, that link that Nikisha just dropped is literally a blank P&L that you can fill out for yourself. Dan, what I'd like to let you just hit on just for a minute, and then we're going to bring up Veronica, is talk about like legacy, wealth building, like how you determine your financial goals and what it means to you, not like the idea of building the nest egg, the idea of leaving a legacy, both for someone like yourself with kids, but also someone without, because you gave me great advice yesterday. I'd love to hear you hit on that.
Yeah. So for me, I am a religious guy who sometimes uses bad words. So forgive me. I'm not always the best representative of God, but here's what I'll say. In the Bible, it says, leave a legacy for your children's children. And see, guys, a few things that I'll tell you is, for me at 46 years old, I know that I've accomplished a lot in my life. I've out-earned and out-accomplished what was in my DNA. Everyone's a set with a money DNA and a set programming. See, plumbers' kids, plumbers' children usually become plumbers. You guys agree with that? People that live in the same neighborhood growing up usually live in that same neighborhood as an adult or in the same area. Well, I was able to break out of that for my family. And for me, it's all about legacy. I build a great culture where I work because if someone's going to work for me, I want to give them something more than money. I want to give them a thinking process. And my legacy play is simply this. My family tree sits on my shoulders, and everything that passes through me, I want to be different. Above me lives alcoholism, drug abuse, domestic violence, criminal behavior, lack of resources, all of that, lack of education. But everything that flows through me, it all changes. And those generational curses that came from my grandfather to my father to me, they don't go on to my children because of the decisions I've made. And what we know is that money does not solve problems, guys. We know that. But a lack of money compounds all your problems. If you're having trouble in your marriage and you don't have money, then your marriage problems are worse. If you're having a health issue and you're also struggling financially, then your health issues get worse. Now, Aaron, speaking specifically to what you said when it comes to legacy, I challenge you, if you do not have children or any intentions of having children, it doesn't change your legacy. Everybody wants to live 1,000 years, and the way that you can live 1,000 years is do something simple, like get a simple term life insurance policy for yourself. If you're in your 30s, it'll cost you $25 to $50 a month. You can get $1 million. And upon your death, you just bless 10 people that loved you through life. Aaron had a lot of family members help him out when he had some medical issues. And I said, Aaron, what if you died one day and all of a sudden checks arrived in their mailbox and you paid off their home mortgages? What would their lives look like then?
Dan, I just realized now I have 10 people that want to kill me.
That's so funny. And the next thing here is one of the things that is really important for me is I told you I have an adopted daughter from Venezuela. She came over as an immigrant. She literally had $400 American when she came here. She has no family to go home to, and her family cannot come here from Venezuela. She's here on asylum. So I adopted her at 19. And when you work and your life is bigger than yourself, then all of a sudden your motivation changes. And I'll leave you with this. The man who has a real purpose doesn't need an alarm clock to wake him up in the morning. I wake up in the morning knowing that Claudia is counting on me, that my children are counting on me, that my wife are counting on me, that the people that work for me are counting on me, and my children's children are counting on me to create a legacy of honor, respect, hard work, finances, education, physical health, marriage, and life, religion. If I do those things, then everyone that comes after me, their roads are paved of a different type of paving, and it's a little bit easier for them to accomplish what they could accomplish. If I let them down, then the ceiling of achievement is lower for me, which means that they'll have to bust through a lot of troubles that I also had to. And it makes my work, my hardest work, no longer worth it. But when I give freedom to others as a result of the things that I do now, it makes all of those hard times in my life completely worth it. Aaron, does that answer your questions?
Absolutely. And real quick, for those of you whose the number did not work for, hopefully this will work. I'm dropping in the chat box right now a new phone number, or at least I think it's a new number. It is the number that his team just sent me. So those of you that are messaging that Michael's number didn't work, just try that one. Dan,
hey, Aaron,
thank you very much. That was
Can
awesome.
I quickly plug Chris? Can I talk about him for just 1 second?
Yeah, and for those of you that get Real Producers, you're going to be on the cover in next month.
All right, guys.
But, we've got literally 1 minute though, so let's hear it.
I'll do it in less than a minute. So guys, I'm up in North Carolina as we speak, preparing. On November 7th, I'll be leading the first person with Down syndrome to complete an Ironman. No one with Down syndrome has ever even attempted this before. It's a 140.6 mile race, and his name is Chris Nickage. If you guys want to follow him during his race, his name is Chris Nickage, and I'll put it in the chat box. The way you spell his name is C-H-R-I-S. Last name is N-I-K-I-C. He's 21 years old, and he's gonna kill it. I'm so excited to see him do it. It's an honor of a lifetime to do it, and the reason why I can do it is because I was smart with my finances, and I work in real estate. Guys, you can do amazing things with what we have with this profession. I'll go out there and do it. God bless you all. Thank you.
Love it. Love it. Let's give a round of applause to Dan Grieb. Let's do it. It's just a little clap in front of the screen. If you got something big out of it, if you guys could just drop in the chat box your biggest takeaway. Just take a second. If you want to, if you're taking notes, just hold your pen up, just jot it down. But if you want to just drop it in your chat box, the biggest takeaway that you got either from Michael or from Dan as you hear this next bio. For our next speaker, who's I know is going to be an awesome interview, so I'm going to ask her a bunch of questions, but just drop your biggest takeaways in the chat box. Next up is Veronica Figueroa. She leads the award-winning Figueroa team at RE/MAX. Oh, sorry, I'm reading an old bio. Sorry about that. Well, she wins an award-winning Figueroa team at eXp Realty, and her team, let's just put it this way. Right now, I just pulled the MLS stats. She is the #1 producing residential real estate agent in Orange, Seminole, and Osceola County combined. So let's give her a round of applause for that. I'm guessing the team sold a heck of a lot more probably than I'm going to quote right here, but they are under her name is 94 million, and I'm pretty confident the rest of the team members have plenty of sales under their name. So that just means that she is selling hundreds and hundreds of homes. I know that they just had a 100-home month, at least a month ago, but I want to bring her up because we're going to have her speak a little bit more about profitability, about some of the mistakes agents make and some of those things. Let me see how to do this. Give me 2 seconds. All right, Veronica, there you are. Let's bring you up now. Does that work?
Yes.
All right, Veronica, let's give her a round of applause. Virtually, you can't hear it, but you can see them. All right. I would love to just ask you some questions if that's cool with you, Veronica. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say thank you. And big kudos to Michael and Dan. Obviously, they left us super pumped and motivated. And Dan, your story is super inspiring. Thanks for sharing your journey with us. I know I'm a big witness of your success. I think one of my first closings and listings I ever called on was one of yours off of Lee Vista. So it's nice to see people that have built a legacy that we get to learn from, continuing to pour into people. So Dan, thanks for everything you do.
Love it. So what I want to ask you about, Veronica, let's kind of go through some of your journey. I want to talk a little bit about some of the mistakes that agents make and some of the common pitfalls. Let's talk a little bit about some of the mistakes that you've made or that you've seen agents make that are common. Like, let's try to cut the learning curve of the people listening. What are the biggest mistakes you see agents making with regards to either their finances or their profitability?
I can definitely speak from my own experience. I mean, I've said this publicly. My #1 mistake that I probably made was chasing every shiny object out there. And through, years of experience and, learning from your mistakes and learning from people, for example, like what Dan was saying, he's giving you advice, he's sharing, the mistakes he's made and not listening and still being hard-headed. I wanted at the beginning to if this person was doing something, I needed to do what they were doing. If this person was doing this, I needed to be doing what they was doing. But then again, if you don't know your P&L and if you don't have a financial advisor, or if you don't have someone properly guiding you, when you looked at your profitability at the end of the year, you're like, why am I running this brokerage and there's no profitability? Or why is it that we're making all this money, but there's none left? And those were real scenarios that we went through as a team or as a successful agent, sort of say on paper. But now we've learned from those mistakes, and we circle the wagons. That was one of the biggest key advice, the words of advice that was given to me by one of my mentors. Circle the wagons. So I would recommend that everyone, just like Dan says, know your numbers, but circle the wagons right before the year ends. What are you spending? Go on your credit card statement, see what, a lot of you guys sign up for different things, whether it's, I don't know, I'm going to give you a couple different things. Maybe it was CTE, but you're not really using CTE, or maybe it was a lead source that you signed up for that you didn't realize was hitting your credit card. I didn't even know half the things I was paying for because I would sign up for things and I wasn't even paying attention. So that was one of the biggest mistakes I made early on in my career, that I was just paying for things that I wasn't even using. And that's the number one mistakes that agents do. We get so caught up in chasing and overwhelmed with trying to do a little bit of everything. And what I've learned over the years through my mistakes is simple is better. Simple is better. You don't have to try to be everything to everyone. And if you just go all in with what's working for you, and maybe you'll, little by little add certain things to your business, as if you're ready to implement and truly take action, then you could start adding certain things to your arsenal. I know Michael said top producers that outrank the people in the country usually have 25 to 30 lead sources. I agree with that, but I want you to also be mindful. Don't go out there today and get 25, 30 lead sources if you're not ready to handle the lead source that's working for you today. I don't want you guys going out there and making the mistakes that I made, that I was like, oh, there's 25 of them, let me sign up for all 25 today. And you're not implementing anything in your business, because that will really hurt your business. I'm someone who's lived that. And I want to be honest and authentic with the mistakes that I've made. Is we've lost a lot of money in the past, but it took me listening to mentors. I've got some of my best mentors on this call. Where you at, Jenny Weimer? Many times I've called her and, we would just sit down and we'd talk, and, she taught me so much about the business as well. So you've got some great mentors here in Orlando that were willing to share our mistakes, but those were a lot of the mistakes that I had. I had Red X at the same time. I had Vulcan 7. I had, Boomtown. I had it all. And then when I looked at it, I was like, what am I really working? So then I made sure that I did this exercise where I circled the wagons and I did a check mark. When's the last time I logged into this? When's the last time I did this? What am I really good at? I'm going to go all in with that. So yeah, simple mistakes, as don't chase every shiny object out there.
Love it. I know there's probably people on this call that have a whole supply of closing gifts they're just not giving out. Just throwing that one out there. But let me ask you a couple other questions. So what are some of the things that you learned to do? Give me kind of a couple of the hacks that you either learned about budgeting, about saving, or about taxes. What have you learned from the coaches and the mentors that maybe the people on this call may not have learned yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be more than happy. And you obviously received my P&L as well. I put myself on salary about 4 years ago, very similar to Dan, when, you start realizing you're just not getting out of this rat hole of taxes. And, when you start making $300,000-$400,000 in tax, in income, and you're not prepared to put that money away, you start having anxiety because you're like, wow, I'm making this money, but I'm not properly planning. So going back to what Dan said, definitely get a financial advisor. My CPA, my attorney, they've become my best friends. If you guys run a team and you need someone to help you managing your books, SBS, Streamlined Business Solutions, what I love about them is they say, we keep score for you. You go hit the ball, we'll keep score. So now, I have 2 CPAs that work for us, and I actually get a P&L for every single one of my agents. I started realizing that I needed the right people on my side, and my CPA really helped me set up my entity. So I draw a salary every month, every every 2 weeks. I'm on salary, and anything extra we're reinvesting into obviously the business. And at the end, obviously we do quarterly payouts. But like, I started realizing I needed to run my business like a business, not just be an agent who was chasing the lockbox or chasing the next deal. I really needed to start having a CPA on my side, having a financial advisor on my side, understanding what each agent who I was investing in, because, you know, like, the P&Ls matter, guys. KPIs matter. How you run your business matters. But my investment is always in people. I invest in people. So because I'm investing in people, I need to know what they are generating and how I can align with what their goals are. So in my world, it's a little different. It's not about me being, you know, the number one earner. I want to know that they're reaching their goals. For example, Nomar on my team, when he calls me and say, hey, I was able to pay for my wife's surgery, cash, you know, she needed bariatric surgery, because of being on our team and because of how we run our business, I was able to save her life. This was his words, not my words. So for me, KPI means, of course, key performance indicators, but for me, it means keeping people inspired. How am I going to keep my people inspired to go out there and reach their life goals so that their label of success comes to fruition? What's important to them comes to fruition, because real estate is an avenue that allows us to do a lot of things, but not necessarily what I want them to do. I have to find out what's important to them. So when I look at their KPIs, I need to know what their life goals are so that I can help them reach those life goals. Because can we all agree not everybody on this call is striving for the same goal? We all have different goals. So for me, I need to evaluate the people in my world and what their goals are so that I can help them reach those goals. And because of that, I've been able to be extremely successful. So yeah, I mean, I went off on a tangent there, but I think I needed to say that.
That's perfect. Let's talk a little bit about using real estate as a vehicle. Like, tell me a little bit about your vision, your dreaming, like how you've started to think about not just like making money, but building wealth and leaving legacy and generations and things like that. And you've now, like, I've seen a major evolving just as a friend that's kind of watched, like, in all the things that you are involved with. So could you speak a little bit to like some of the goal setting, the planning, the visioning, and using real estate as a vehicle to fund a lot of your dreams?
Yeah, I mean, I really have just gotten deeper on my leadership and my development skills on finding out how I can, again, help people accomplish what they want to accomplish, and by asking really good questions on what's important to you, Aaron. What do you want to do? So I get a lot of people say, I one day want to be a team leader. I one day want to be a broker. I one day want to be, you know, I want my name on billboards, or I want to, you know, be a number one agent in my market. But then I dive a little deeper as to what does that look like? And then it's like, what do you really want to do? Do you want to buy homes? Do you want to buy investment properties? Are you looking to retire your mother? I retired my mother, you know, at 35, and I wake up every morning wondering, I can never send my mom back to work. So I get really deep on that. So then I know what I need to accomplish to meet that financial goal with everyone in my world. And now that world has extended beyond it. I never aspired to be a coach that would charge people's credit cards. Now the platform that I work in, I get to be in business with people, and I only get compensated if they are successful. So for me, the platforms that I've been able to do is like, what does wealth really mean to people? Does it mean buying homes? Does it mean retiring their family? Does it mean them having, you know, the financial freedom for them not to have to work? So I dive deep into what's important to them, Aaron. And for example, now, you know, we just bought a multifamily commercial unit and we're under contract for another duplex. And I like to buy doors. I want to be able to buy properties that have multiple doors for me, but that doesn't mean that's what people in my world necessarily want. I know people who wanted to build teams, but they didn't want to have the responsibility of teams. So we're now building the modern team. This new model for us allows us to have partners. I have over 1,000 partners across the country, and now soon to be Puerto Rico. And that gives us the ability to build revenue streams from more than one outlet. And I've always said, you know, there's something that I always say is I don't want to be limited to just the lockbox. I don't want my income to be that if I don't sell a house, I don't get paid. So I have multiple streams of income because I know that real estate is so, I mean, it's like Dan said, there's peaks and valleys. So when we are making this money, we need to make smarter decisions, what we're going to do with our money. And I think you and I chatted about this the other day. The next thing is people say, oh, you know, opening up a brokerage. And to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was a broker, and the biggest, I think, highlight of my career was when I retired as a broker in 2019 because I realized I don't have to be the brokest person in the room anymore. So for me, again, I just dive deep into what's important to people, but also use my experiences that I share with them to say, don't make the same mistakes that I made. I lost you there, Aaron.
I'm right here. I was just listening. I was letting you go. But all right. So let's talk a little bit about what these, like, first steps. Let's give like a few first steps. Like for an agent, if somebody's on here and they're getting in, you know, they're producing, they're getting consistent, I would love to hear what some of the first steps that you usually would recommend to them would be. Veronica?
Sorry, I left the screen. I realized my computer's about to die.
No problem. I'm gonna bring Dusty up in a minute, but tell me like first steps. Like, you're obviously, like, everyone that's speaking is performing at such a high level. There's probably people on this call that are like, sweet, if I sold hundreds of homes, I'd love to, you know, do all sorts of things. Where do they start? What do you recommend that people do today that you didn't know to do when you were new?
I want you to go back. Most of everyone on this call here has a good book of business. I want you to go back to last year's business, even this year's business, and identify, where did your business come from? Where is your true number one source of business coming from? How often have you reached out to those people? Are you measuring what what you've invested into that group of sphere or source of business? A lot of times I talk to agents, they don't even know where their business came from, and that's scary. I want you to identify, where did your business come from and how are you measuring that? And if it is sphere of influence, how have you been able to build a system around that sphere of influence? Like Michael said, if you don't have some sort of automation, if you don't have some sort of ongoing communication with them, someone else is going to outwork you because they're staying in front of them. And referral sources are great, but you need to be able to build a system around that. So again, this isn't talking to the agent who's just now getting started. This is to the people who probably are on here, are already doing about $1 million to $2 million, and you do have business. Do you know where that business came from last year? If so, how are you servicing that business, that farm that you have, to stay in front of them? And I probably would, I could probably guarantee that a lot of you could probably say in this chat that you haven't done the best job of keeping in front of your number one lead source or knowing where you have the highest conversion. Get really clear with that. I don't want to just talk about the high level stuff. Get really, really clear as to, where did the majority of your business come from last year? Who were your ambassadors? Who is your dream 25 that you want to do business with? And how are you staying in front of them? That's like, again, without you guys going out there and spending all this money, spending thousands and thousands of dollars so that your P&L isn't healthy, where are you getting your business from and how are you truly servicing that? I want you guys to go deeper than wide. I want you to go deep with the relationships that are working for you. And I promise you, that's where you're going to get the best ROI in your business. It's because people like you and they trust you and they want to do business with you. And to me, today, that is still going to be the number one source of your business. It's the basics. It's the simple things, guys. It's the simple things. And again, going back to some of the things that were said on here, you got to wake up with knowing that you got to be the hardest working person in the room. You can have all this formula to success, but if you don't get up in the morning and you don't work, the one reason why I say I'm successful is because I'm willing to outwork people. I'm willing to outrisk them, and I'm willing to fail, get up and get back up over and over again. And if something didn't work, I figure out why it didn't work and what I could have done to do better. So go back to your book of business from the last 2 years. What was your number one source? What was your number two source? What was your number three source? How could you have improved those three sources to double your business or triple your business? It shouldn't have to be all of this extra stuff. It really shouldn't. Did I lose you, Aaron?
No, you're good. I was just letting you go. Sorry, I just muted so I wouldn't interrupt you. Let's I got one more question for you. When it comes to building the book of business and seeing it as a ability to create wealth in multiple ways, let's talk a little bit about building your actual database, like how valuable you really feel like your database is now that you've had all these years of reflecting. Could you share a little bit about why it's so important for people to really cultivate their database and feed their database and maintain their database and the value of it?
Yeah, I'm going to be super simple on this because in case I lose you guys, but guys, your database is it is gold. It is your data bank. You've heard that before, especially more than ever. I know a lot of you are thinking, oh my God, Zillow's the big bad wolf. The world's changing. Real estate's changing. Your database is your bank. You got to get in there. You've got to nurture what's in your database. That's what a lot of us have been building for years and years and years and years. If you don't have hot clients right now, you do. You just haven't went after it. And Michael said it best. The number one thing that us agents fail at is follow up. But now we're in a time right now that people in your database and other people's database have been neglected for years. People didn't figure out how to properly service their database. Simple things, video. Now's the time for you to just reach out to your database and just come from a video that doesn't have to be super produced. It could be super authentic. Checking in, letting them know that the world of real estate is still resilient, that the world of real estate is still strong, and that you're the person here to educate, empower them, and guide them. Go through your database now more than ever, and I promise you 2021 will be an even better year than 2020. People are neglecting their database. Everyone that I coach with, everyone that is in the high level coaching programs that we're in, we're so excited about the fact that the years of us building our database is what's going to lead us into the future. So now is your time to really assess your database. Anyone that you archived, that you said was trash, that bought with someone else, I promise you, just the simple nudges and the simple touches, by you letting people know that you are still here to help them navigate through what is the real estate world that has to continue to show strength, and that you're that person who's going to advise them and help them. You watch how much business you get out of that.
Love it. All right. Let's do a giant round of applause for Veronica. I know she can't hear it, but if you guys could clap in front of the screen. I'm going to bring up our next speaker now. And Veronica, if you happen to have time to stick around, that would be awesome. So I'm sure they may have questions, but if not, totally understood. I'm going to bring up, last but certainly not least, because that was awesome, and I'm sure a lot of people are ready to bust through a wall or something right now. I'm going to bring up Dusty, and luckily Dusty is not an accountant, so I promise you he is going to have some amazing things to share. That's a joke for the accountants on the call, because I know that Steve Bell is actually awesome. So, but anyway, Dusty is a tax planning consultant. He's a tax strategy expert. He's basically someone that will help you figure out how to find loopholes and structure the best way for your taxes. So if you were shocked, impressed, or anything in between by the fact that allegedly the president may have paid $750 in taxes, and maybe you wanted to learn how you could pay little bits in taxes, and this isn't a political statement, it's more of just a statement about how none of us want to pay a ton in taxes, and if you do, I'm sure you could. But let's have Dusty. I'm going to bring up Dusty. He runs Oxford Business Services. He is an awesome creative guy. He's going to speak a bit about profit. He's going to speak a bit about taxes. And if it's cool with you, Dusty, I'm going to raffle off one of your tax planning consulting strategy things that we've talked about. If that's cool with you at the end, but only the people that give us their info. So I'm going to bring him up right now. Let's give a giant round of applause in front of your cameras. I know they can't hear you, but give a round of applause to Dusty Rollins. And I promise you, you are going to want a pen and paper for this stuff. Dusty, you ready to roll? Let's hear it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're not that loud.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're good now.
Okay.
Hey, everyone, give us a big thumbs up in front of the camera if you hear him well. All right, okay. Enough of them do.
Thanks so much, Aaron, for having me. And I'm going to kind of bring the mood down, because now we're going to get in the weeds on some tax stuff. But right before, so all these inspiring speakers, I'll kind of relax everybody here. So hopefully nobody's driving or operating heavy machinery. So one of the things, before we get into tax stuff, one of the best books that I've ever read on profit is called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, something like, just do Profit First. It's a great book. It's like 200 pages, but the first 3 chapters, you'll either get it and want to finish it, or you won't like it. Either way, it's very well worth it, and gives you a practical step-by-step system to show the profit, no matter what level of business.
Can I plug one thing that actually Dan, who spoke earlier, his entire system and his entire P&L is completely based off of Profit First as well. So I just wanted to plug that as a second endorsement, that 2 of our 4 speakers run Profit First system.
Perfect. And then one other quick thing, then I'll get into taxes, is I think I'm a little bit of a contrarian, because listening to the other three speakers, I mean, I got tired just listening to them because they're so energetic and they're working so hard. One of the things we've done when I work with high-end business owners, and one of the actual steps we take for profitability is having them work less. So when we're trying to transition them from 6 figures to 7 figures, believe it or not, I believe the key is working less. And so I had a client, he was doing about $6 million, had about 20 employees. This was 4 years ago. We started working together. I said, the number one thing is we have to get you out of this office, because when you're in this office, everybody hits you, everybody comes up, everybody drags you down. We need to move you back to your home office, which we'll talk about for taxes too. We need to move you back to your home office. And that key moment, obviously he did the work, but that key moment of him moving out, working less, actually drove his business up, and they're knocking on 16 million this year. So I'm kind of a contrarian there. But when it comes to taxes, let's jump right in. One of the concepts I like to talk about is called tax cash. So I was talking to a guy, and again, a high-end business owner. I've got some ideas, even if you're not paying $500,000 in taxes yet, I've got some ideas for you. But this example, the guy was paying about $500,000. And so we were talking back and forth and kind of dealing, looking at his business and what we could restructure. And I had a plan that would save him $300,000 a year in taxes. So we would take $500,000 tax liability down from 500 to 2. And he's like, yeah, this is good. I could just see, and it just popped in my mind. I said, let me ask you this, Mr. Business Owner, tomorrow morning, if you woke up and you went and told your wife, your wife, you woke up and your wife says, where are you going? You said, I'm going to the car dealership. I'm going to the Bentley dealership in Tampa, Florida, and I'm going to buy a Bentley. And she said, okay, what are you going to do with it then? Well, I'm going to drive it over to those mining pits and push it off a cliff. And he's like, I said, what do you think she would say to you? And what I was trying to illustrate is by him not focusing on the tax savings, it was the equivalent in his case of buying a Bentley every single year and just shoving it off the cliff. So whatever your tax basis is, if you just think, you make what you make, you pay what you pay, it's not important, it's not worth my hassle, I want to impress on you, it's real money. Like if you save $2,000 in taxes, that's real cash that you don't have to then go earn in your business at a lower profit margin. So you have to actually earn a lot less than you would have. So that's kind of step one. But there are 3 levels of taxpayer. Level 1 is you have a W-2 income, and we kind of talked about that. And some of you like Veronica mentioned, she went on salary in her structure. So some of you will be a business owner and will have a W-2 also, but a W-2 person, that's level 1. There are almost no tax deductions. There's almost no tax strategy. There's like 3 of them, and a lot of people don't qualify anymore. What I like to tell people is, if you're just a W-2 income, you're kind of screwed when it comes to taxes. But the good news is most people on this call, if they are real estate agents or in that industry, have their own business. That's level 2, that business owner level where you're taking deductions, you're writing mileage off, you're writing expenses off, you're taking the deductions. Often at the end of the year, your CPA or accountant will come to you and say, what did you spend? Oh, we can write that off. Oh, that's not deductible. Well, the 3rd level is what we like to kind of call the Navy SEALs level. That's the elite level where you're really in those echelons of tax planning. You're working in a way, you're partnering with the IRS, not as a real partnership. I know Aaron's a good libertarian, so partnering with the government sends chills up your spine, and me too. I'm not saying you're partnering. What I'm saying is the IRS gives us clues of what they want to happen, and they'll give tax breaks for that. That's one of the reasons real estate and real estate investing is so good. And so if we line up what the government wants us to do, if it lines up with what we were wanting to do anyway, building our wealth and building our business and building our family, then if those merge, we can use that to cut our tax liability and to build wealth. So that's kind of the 3 levels. And one of the important things that I think everyone on the call need to hear is there's kind of two tax codes. I like to joke. There's two tax codes. One's for the informed, one's for the uninformed. Aaron mentioned loopholes, and I actually don't like that word because, no offense, Aaron, but they're not actually loopholes. They're written into the IRS code. So they're sitting there. The IRS is saying, if you want to do this tax strategy, here's how you do it. Here are the rules. So it's really not even real loopholes. It's the tax law that's in there that you just haven't been able to, or your advisors haven't been able to fully access. And so one of the key principles to taxes is you have to set things up correctly. So people all the time will say, well, is this deductible? Is this deductible? And that's a hard question to answer because it depends on how you've structured things. So, one question I would ask the group, I don't know if you can see responses, Aaron, but true or false, driving from your home to your office is not a deductible expense. You can't deduct the mileage driving from your home to your office. And see, actually look at my cup. Can you see my cup there?
Love it.
Did we get any answers, or has everybody already moved?
We got some truths, we got some truths, we got some falses, we got some truths. Let's hear it.
So again, it depends, right? If you're structured correctly, for the average person that hasn't thought about it, it's not deductible because you're driving from your home to your office. But if you have a home office, then it's deductible. That brings up question number 2, true or false? If you have an office, you're not allowed to have a home office, or you're not allowed to deduct a home office.
Let's hear it.
It's false. You are. And so, I have a doctor client. He's got, last count, I think 4 offices or four facilities all around. We have him set up properly with a home office because that's the home office that manages all the other offices. And so that opens up a lot of the tax code for tax planning. So there are 3 big areas, and then I'll open it for questions or whatever you want to do, Aaron. 3 areas. One is entity. I see this all the time where, we had a client that hired us for a tax plan, and all we did, his CPA of 18 years, good guy, but he had put his rental real estate on a wrong schedule. So just put it on the wrong form. And so the guy paid 18.
I just figured I'd tell you.
What's that? Will you say, I heard you, Aaron, did you?
All right, no, you're good. My bad.
Okay. So his accountant put it on the wrong form, and so he paid $1,800 in extra self-employment tax. We just moved it to the correct form and solved the problem. So number 1 is the way you set up entities. Everyone thinks, well, I'll just go set up an LLC, I'll set up a corporation, but there's a lot of variation in that to how it's taxed. So again, is it good to set up an LLC? Maybe, possibly, probably, but you have to have a plan for how the entity is structured. Second area is that I really like is hiring kids, because what's that old statistic? It says like a kid now will cost 200 grand to raise or something like that. I've got 3 of them, and I'm going to do it on the cheap plan. I'm going to, they don't need good college. So this though is a way that you can legally shift income from a higher tax bracket, i.e. yours, to theirs, a lower tax bracket. And it used to be even harder. 15 years ago, it used to be harder, to say, well, how can you justify paying your kids $1,000 a month or something in the business unless they're, if you're paying them $8 an hour, how do you get the necessary hours? Now it's much easier because all of them, you can just make them the social media manager and you're covered. The third is a little bit of a peculiar strategy that involves probably the world's most famous golf course. It's called the Augusta strategy. And it's a way that your business can rent your home out tax-free for a certain amount of days per year. And again, these are strategies that are right in the tax code. They're sitting there. It's just most CPAs, they're into tax prep. So as I'm wrapping up, Aaron, what they're doing, most CPAs didn't sleep last night, because today's the deadline for all the extensions on the personal side. So they're frantically working, you know, the last few weeks. And one of the CPAs I work with that does tax prep, he's, you know, he is unreachable right now. I'm not doing any of that because I don't do the tax preparation. I don't put the numbers in boxes. I do the strategy that, and so it's a different game. So thanks so much, Aaron. And thank you.
Man, thank you. I mean, honestly, if you want to keep going with any of these things, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And if anyone has to jump off, they can jump off. But there's 81 people, and I'm guessing most of them would love to keep hearing from you if you've got more to share. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions and let you teach a little bit more, if that's cool with you, Dusty, if you've got the time. All right,
Yes.
Sweet. So what I'd like to hear is a couple creative strategies or a couple ideas or a couple mistakes that not only, I mean, obviously you teach most small business owners, but how about either real estate agents or real estate affiliates? What do you think most of them aren't doing that they probably should be doing with regards to how they structure their business and whatnot?
A great question. And I think it's, you know, I started working with a group over in Tampa, non-real estate, but a similar setup to real estate. And they had all of these entities. So we started unpacking it and they were like, yeah, we set up this corporation and we set up this corporation. And, you know, so they got very, very good at going online and setting up corporations, but they had no idea, no plan as to how do these all fit together? Are they S Corp? How are they taxed? Are they S Corp, partnerships, C Corps? So I think I would guess a lot of real estate agents have heard, you know, set up a company, set up a corporation, set up a business. They do that, but they just don't have it structured properly to take the most advantage of the tax situation. Did that make sense at all?
Absolutely.
And I guess another thing while you're thinking of a great question, what I would like to say is, you know, back to what Veronica, I think, was talking about in terms of, or everyone talked about it, but really knowing your numbers. And I think what happens when you look in society, in my mind, I've always been proud to be a sales guy. You know, I've never been ashamed to be in sales because, you know, in my opinion, you know, sales moves things and improves people's lives. And so most of your real estate agents better be good at sales, right? Or they're not going to be around long. And so what I would say is the good news, if you're good in sales, that's a higher value skill set than number crunching. And particularly with artificial intelligence, you know, so what I like to tell good salespeople is nerds are cheap. And so hire people to get you those numbers, and you can tell them what numbers you need, and, you know, but you can hire that phenomenally cheap to get you the numbers correctly so that it clears your mind to be able to do more and more sales. Because like Veronica said, when you're worried about not having that quarterly tax payment or not knowing where you are or not knowing if you're profitable or not, that's going to keep you from being productive and selling more houses.
Love it.
So nerds work cheap.
Love it. And by the way, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, but for those of you that are still on here, and I know there's about 75 of us here, if you guys could quickly click, there's a link I just dropped in the chat box, and you can literally do it while we're doing this. It will only take you literally about 2 minutes. Just click that link. We would love to get your feedback on today's session. So if you want to click that link, it's a quick form. You click through, you fill it out. I will at least mention there's a button on the bottom that will snap a picture. You don't have to do it, but if you'd like to, you could just smile. Wherever your camera is, we'll snap a photo. When you hit that, we'll put it in the magazine with the recap of this. Those of you guys that have hashtag Masterclass Orlando, we will be using those photos in the magazine when we do a recap of today's event. So the more photos we get, the more we can feature everybody and what happened here. So we'd love to get your shots. But if you could click that link real quick and just fill out that quick survey so that we can continue to innovate and stay on track with what you guys tell us to do, not just what we want to do. Let us know what you thought about today, what questions you have, and things like that. Super simple at that link there. And when you're done, you could just let us know by looking up, or you could say I'm done in the chat box below. But I'm going to drop that one more time. There's the survey. You can click it, fill that out. I'm going to ask Dusty a few more questions. And before I do that, I do want to at least say, I want to give at least a 1, 2, 3 clap. I know you guys can't clap, but we could do like a
clap no one can hear. To our friends from Systematic Home Staging who weren't able to make it today. That's 1, 2, 3, clap. Who sponsored it. I'd also like to give a quick 30-second shout out, if that's cool, to Mauricio with Artesian Title, who's on now. And they're one of our sponsors for today. Mauricio, thank you, man. Anything you want to say real quick before I ask him the last question?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. So one thing I wanted to just say really quick is Artesian Title, we do a clear to close program. We start title lien search as soon as your listing goes live. We have concierge closers. We close anywhere in the state of Florida, anytime, any place, even the airport. We'll come to you, wear masks, gloves, everything. And we offer a media package with all of our listings as well. Includes up to 50 HD photos, Matterport virtual touring, and aerial drone photography for up to only $195, and all in paid at closing if you close. Thanks, Aaron, for everything you do. Appreciate you.
Love it. So, and then any of our other sponsors, they're on the bottom of the flyer that you saw that got you into this. So make sure you reach out to them. Dusty, I want to ask you a little bit about the profit first concept, about paying yourself first. About why people should be paying themselves first, why their business should be paying for their taxes, why they should be separating a business, and maybe any other strategies you have to avoid commingling. Give me some of the basics that people are screwing up as small business owners. Any of those you could answer.
Sure. So I think, Dan, I think it was Dan brought it up where there's a famous poker player, and there's a website that lists all the professional poker players and what they made every year. And I think it was 2019, maybe 2018. And the top earning guy earned $3.4 million. So when you just go to that site and look at, you're like, that dude, man, he's got everything he wants, right? Cars and houses and boats. And he probably lives in Vegas and, living the dream. Well, later, famously, and I'm not a gambler, but a buddy of mine's a professional gambler. He was telling me the guy in a chat forum, high-end chat forum for professional poker players, he said, I need to come clean. So this was very public. He said, yes, I made that amount of money, but I lost $800,000. So it only cost him $4 million to make 3.2 million. And if you're that, I see that shockingly. Every time I used to go to conferences, right? We don't go anymore, but soon maybe. And everyone's talking about, oh yeah, we just hit 6 figures. Oh, we're killing it. I know another YouTube guy that probably half the people on here would know. He did about 2 million one year in 19, and it cost him 2.5 million to do it. So the point I think that Dan was making is, if you're not tracking your numbers and seeing where the money's coming in and the money going, then all of a sudden you could be in a situation where, because where you're actually, it's costing you money to run your business. You're not actually even making money. You're losing money every year. So you're not profitable. Now, here's the bad side, right? The IRS, the way taxes work, you could, and I think Veronica, mentioned this. At the end of the year, you can have no money in your bank account and owe a very hefty tax bill, because the way the IRS figures profit and the way you have figured profit are vastly different. So that's why that Profit First book talks about each check that comes in, you start to allocate it into different accounts. And what I love too, it forces the business owner. So, if you have 10 grand in a bank account and somebody calls you up and says, hey, let's do a marketing campaign. You're thinking, I have $10,000. I'll, 2 grand, no problem. I'll do the marketing. But really, out of that 10 grand, if you had allocated it properly, some should have gone to profit, some should have gone to taxes, some should have gone to the owner pay, some to operating expense. That real account might only have, the real number might be 6 grand in there. So now somebody calls up and says, hey, I want to do you want to do $2,000 in marketing. You're like, yeah, I don't know, because you're now looking at a real number, not the false bank account number. So if you only have one bank account, you're in trouble.
Love it. Great stuff, man.
That book lines it all out.
Absolutely. I was listening to it again this morning just to pay attention to it. And I'm sure that other people have been in the same boat. Like, I remember a few years back, maybe just 3 years ago, when for maybe 8 or 9 years in a row, I had paid my taxes late. I had not set it aside. I had spent the money, thought I had a lot. And I was like, holy shit, I need to go sell a lot of knives or whatever I was selling at the time, to pay for it. And I'm sure there's other people on this call who have had to go sell more homes or get the next closing in order to even fund the bill for taxes. And I know that Profit First for me completely changed my business. I don't do it perfectly, so I'm still trying to learn how to do it better. But I can tell you that when my accountant says you owe this, the money's set aside already. They pay it. It's easy. I don't touch it. Maybe once in a while I get some back. And it completely changed my life and actually my perspective of what I was actually earning that was mine. You know, often we think whatever percentage we make on our sales or whatever we think our profit margin is on our average transaction, we usually are very wrong. We're usually not considering all sorts of other things we should be considering. And I'm not going to break down the line items because that's not what I'm good at. But most of us, when we think we make this percentage, we really make 20% less or 15% less, sometimes a heck of a lot less than that. And so I think this is really important. What questions, let's go around. The book, by the way, Jenny, is called Profit First by Michael Hellickson. He's a phenomenal author. He's written a whole bunch of books. You can find it on Audible as well for those of you that like listening. But and Donald, if you have a question, I'll call on you in a second. But those of you that have questions for Dusty, definitely raise your hand or drop them in the chat box. Dusty, how does someone schedule an appointment to do the tax strategy?
Great question. So thetaxcure.com, thetaxcure.com.
Wait. Sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but you're not going to plug this unless I tee you up, I think, because you're too humble for it. Can you tell people what you are about to unroll and maybe tell them about where they can get either info or a copy or whatever? Tell them about the manifesto.
So that is taxpayermanifesto.com. And it's my audiobook that it's pretty cool. It's not ready to go on Audible yet because they're recording, they're very stringent, but taxpayermanifesto.com. And that, you know, because to me, Aaron, taxes are a way, and I'm not a conspiracy theory, but one of my favorite quotes is, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't out to get you. But I'm not a conspiracy guy, but the government uses taxes and the tax code to drive behavior and to control people. And I mean, it's just factual. So I'm not a conspiracy theory. I'm just saying I believe there should be limits to how much the IRS can punish your success. So that's why I kind of wrote the Taxpayer Manifesto. That, you know, I think a key part of liberty is getting your tax situation under control.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm weird on that. I think we should get rid of the whole thing, but we won't get into that. But real quick, so those of you that haven't already, just make sure, and here's what I'm doing. I'm gonna actually give away one of Dusty's tax plans to anyone who is still on the call that filled out the survey. So basically, if you just filled out our survey, if you didn't, you still have time. Afterwards, I'm gonna pull all the responses and raffle off one free tax planning strategy session. He's going to literally help your business align completely. And you can use that, Dusty, that's something they can use for like forever, right? Like they get one tax plan and they can give it to their accountant and right? Like, can you kind of give the 15, 30-second overview of what that is that I'm giving away?
Perfect. Yes. So if you go to thetaxcure.com, that gives you a link to schedule a strategy session with me. But what you're giving away, Aaron, is an actual tax plan. So we're going to go, you know, we'll talk to the person who wins it. We'll get their information, and then we will, you know, formulate the tax plan and send it to them, you know, which are normally, you know, several $1,000 tax plans.
Love it.
You know, but so anybody in the call can go to the site and schedule a tax strategy session to see if we can help. But this one you're giving away is a full-on.
It's an $1,800 plan, right?
Yes, a minimum. Yeah.
Minimum $1,800 plan. Sorry, I didn't mean to misquote that, but I know it's at least $1,800. So again, you can get in the raffle, but you got to fill out our survey. So if you haven't already or you're waiting, I don't know what the heck you're waiting for. The survey is like a few clicks and a few words, and you should be done. Like most people are done, but a couple of you probably aren't. Sends me an email right away, and I'm not going to draw these later. So if you save this to like send to me in 3 days, which I don't know why a couple of you always do, someone sends me the survey like a week later, doesn't really help you win anything. So fill that out. Let us know. I'm going to let Dusty stick around because there's a lot of great people on this call. what questions do you have for Dusty? Either raise your hand literally or virtually, either one. I'll call on you, or drop it in the chat box. If you don't want to jump on camera, just let us know what you'd like to ask him, or what else you wanted to get out of today that you might not have yet gotten out of today that we might still get you out of today. Drop it in the chat box and just let us know. But again, we've dropped in the chat box how to follow Michael, where Dan's tax plan is. Veronica, you could follow her at Veronica Figueroa. I'll drop that in the chat box as well. Or Nikisha, you could probably help me pull her Facebook page and drop it down there. And Dusty Rollins tax plan on Facebook as well as where you guys could be following. So who else has a question? Mauricio, I'm gonna call on you since you are always volunteering first.
Thanks. Dusty, a quick question. I know you mentioned you can write off your home office in certain cases. Can you write off home office renovations?
Yes. In the right cases, yes.
Cool. That's what I want to know. As you see, my office is kind of barren right now, and we're thinking about doing some renovations, so I appreciate that.
You'll have a pool and a fountain and
yeah, a jacuzzi, a spa. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
Dusty,
again,
can you? Oh, go ahead.
No.
Oh, I was going to ask if you could share some of the things about, like, you and I once talked, and I don't remember the specific example, about can you give me some examples or stories of times where it makes sense for someone to actually open a business, doing something that they didn't think they were going to open a business because of tax advantages? Did I ask that in a way that made sense?
Yeah, I think so. And fortunately, you know, when I talk to a normal audience, not real estate agent type industry, a lot of them, you know, if there is, let me start over. Back to the 3 levels, right? So level 1, you're a W-2 income, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think 90% plus of America, that's how they earn their living. But that W-2 income, you just don't have any tax breaks. You know, it's just almost non-existent. So what we tell people is one of the ways to get onto level 2 and level 3 is to open a business. So, but fortunately, I would assume most of the people on this call, you know, real estate is that way that they can open that business. Now, if you have a client that's a high-end W-2 earner and they have rental real estate or investment real estate, that can open the portal for them. But if you're getting into the real estate space, or like Mauricio, there's always, you know, if you're already in a business, then that opens the tax code. And by my estimation, I mean, it really, you just, if you're a W-2, that's why if you're a W-2 only, you know, I recommend a lot of people do TurboTax, you know, because it's like there's 4 questions, you know, and you put your W-2 in there and it's 4 questions and, you know, that's it. So the business is what creates, and I'll wade into controversy. So back when Donald Trump passed the Trump tax cuts, a lot of people said these are tax cuts for the rich. And I said they're not, because I had doctors who are in W-2 income who actually pay more because they only had W-2 income. They lost some deductions. The Trump tax cuts were a tax cut for business owners, of which we can all become. So it's open opportunity there. Did that make sense? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I said yes, that makes sense. And for those of you that had an issue with the P&L link, I will put a new one in the chat box in just a second. Dusty, what else? What else do people not know that they should know? What are like the most common pieces of advice you're giving? And also, do you want to, did we already get you to talk about the Pareto principle? Did you get time to talk about that earlier?
I didn't, but now,
I'd love to hear the thoughts you wanted to share.
Here's the problem, Aaron. You had 3 really nice people on as speakers, and now you're forcing me into territory where I'm going to blow the cover. I'm not a nice guy. So I'm contrarian. So,
and by the way, I should have said this in the start, which I usually do, and that is everyone doesn't have to agree with each other. One of the great reasons we do this is to bring you differing perspectives from people that are out there and doing it. So don't feel obligated to agree with anyone that's went before you. It's totally cool, and it's not an indicator of anything but everyone having different opinions. Go ahead, Dusty. Sorry.
So number 1, on the tax side, I hate government-sponsored retirement plan funding, 401ks, IRAs, that whole shebang. They are great for taxes for the IRS. Now, maybe that's just a teaser for another call or an article or something we can write up. You know, we don't have time to go in, but those government-sponsored plans, and again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I can prove it with math. They are designed to drastically help them. So they give you a tax deferment, and then they create massive problems later on. But so that's a very contrarian view of mine. The second is, for 20 years, I'm an old guy, I'm much older than anyone on here, I'm sure. For 20 years, I had heard about the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle. And probably everyone on here has heard the principle. But what I found about 3 years ago, I grew up in a boarding school in Southeast Asia. So, and now we live in, you know, Central Florida. It's paradise here. All of us, I think, live in this area. It's a really cool place. So I have 3 kids. I wanted them to experience, you know, this is Disney World and the lakes and the beaches. You know, this is paradise, but the rest of the world, you know, has some issues. I wanted them to see that. So we planned to, so I moved my family to Penang, Malaysia for a month. And in doing that, it forced me, we planned it for about 6 months. It forced me to get my business tight. And then, again, this was 3 years ago. And so what happened is, by the end of that, I mean, 85% of all of my business was in the cloud, on the cloud, whatever you call that. You know, and now I would say probably 85% of it's run on my phone. I decided to do this one because my phone is, I shake when I hold the phone. So I did it on my desktop. But anyway, my point is this. What changed everything for me was the 80-20 principle. The 80-20 principle says 20% of your input, 20% of your effort, 20% of your clients, 20% of anything will produce 80% of the results. So that's why I was kind of saying before, when we're working with the client on the tax side, but also on the coaching side, and they're wanting to move from 6 to 7 figures, in our mind, it's not working more. You know, it's not, and that's what most people advise. It's like, okay, if you want to move from 6 to 7, you've got to work more, to 7 figures. My whole thing is, you don't need to work more. I hate time management. For years, I thought time management was all about making my time more efficient so I could work more. What to me, so time management sucks. What I am about, because also time management, if the 80-20 rule is right, where 20% of your production produces 80% of the result, then time management just helps you manage the lower value stuff anyway. And so my whole point is the 80-20 rule, when I began to really master it, and I mean, I have mastered it because I freed up time. So I fired 93% of my clients. I did it gently. I had some old ladies that I couldn't fire. There were some older lady clients that they're still with me. But that's a personal decision, a business decision. I fired, and here's what happened. Those 90, in that 93% of clients, Aaron, were all the pains in the asses. Every one of them was in that. So not only did I get away from clients who were pains in my ass and weren't profitable, so I got rid of them. So now that I can focus. So what I would tell people is, when you 80-20 your life and your clients and your business, what happens when you find that 20%, you go all in with that 20%. You know, just like you do, Aaron, when you find the cream of the crop, which are on this call and are part of Orlando Real Producers, right? And you go all in with them instead of just sending out to how many are there, 300 million agents in America? You know, you're focused on that top 20% and you go all in. You're sending knives and gifts and all in on that 20%. And that's what I recommend to people. When you find that 20%, and the beautiful thing is that begins to free up other areas of your life. So right now, this call is different, but very rarely do I schedule anything before 11 o'clock. I'm focusing on ideas and strategies and reading and meditating and literally doing nothing that people would call business. And my business has absolutely exploded, but each client I bring on, I like the client, we become, you know, they're easy to work with, or I don't bring them on.
Can I expand on that for a second, Dusty? Here's what I would share with you guys for those of you that are still listening to this. Everyone here knows the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. we always teach our teams, and one of the things I learned from a mentor of mine a long time ago was this idea, and I don't remember what we called it, to be honest, but it's, everyone says the 80-20 rule, 80% of your business will come from the top 20%. The question that be asking yourself constantly and trying to find the answer, because when you ask yourself questions, your brain's like Google, it tends to find the answers. Ask yourself, how could I make the top 20%, whether that's activity, whether that's prospects, whether that's whatever, how can I make the top 20% fill 100% of my schedule? How can I make the top 20% fill 100% of my schedule? So let's just use clients, for example. You've got your top 20% of your clients. How could you make the top 20% fill 100% of your schedule? If you generated enough leads that your schedule was filled with only the top 20%, you might need 5 times the number of leads you're getting, or maybe even more. But mathematically, let's say you need 5 times as much for the 20% to equal 100% of your time. It probably is not 5 times, it's probably way more. But a lot of you guys could be more intentional about answering that question about what could I be doing for my top type of client or my ideal client or my ideal prospect to actually fill up my calendar so that I can either refer the other stuff out, turn it away, become a specialist, whatever you want to do that funds the lifestyle that you desire. Would you agree with that, Dusty? Is that kind of a nice way of summing up some of the things you're saying as well?
100%.
Awesome. So Dusty's links in the chat box below. Who else has a question or something you want to ask Dusty? Just raise your hand virtually or physically. And then what I'd like to do, I'm going to get one or two more seconds. If anyone does have a question, raise your hand now. What I'd like to do as we wrap up, instead of sending everyone into breakouts, is what I'd like to do is just ask who in here wants to just share what you got out of today. What was your biggest takeaway? What did you learn today? How was today's session for you? What did you like best? What was the thing that stood out to you? I want to get at least 3 or 4 takeaways before we wrap this thing up. Who wants to share before I just start calling on people? What did you get out of today? Okay, Ellen, I see your hand up. Let's see. All right. Is that your hand up or stretching? Well, either way, I unmuted you, so let's hear what you got to say.
I learned that if you know your numbers, you're going to limit your punishment by the government for your own business.
Absolutely. Dusty, you want to elaborate on that?
Amen.
Amen to that. So who else? I'm going to start calling people around me just because there's only so many of you left on camera. Oh, Crystal, let me go to you. All right, Crystal, what did you get out of today?
I got out the information about taxes, the book Profit First. I'm excited to read it. I've never heard about that book. So I'm looking forward to that. And I really want to look at more strategies, how to save money for the taxes in the government. So I really appreciate that information.
Love it. Love it. And by the way, for everyone who registered at masterclassorlando.com, which is probably everyone that's on this call, we will be emailing out the recap so you can listen back if you missed anything. If for any reason you're not registered, you're going to want to find me and send me a message with your email. Don't put it in this chat box because we will probably miss it. Who else wants to just share the quick takeaway? Anyone else real quick? One last takeaway or two. I know Mauricio is always good for one, so I'm going to call on you, man.
What's going on, man? So for me, it was a couple things. Obviously, structuring your business as a business. A lot of us come into this as W-2 employees, and then we're like, whoa, I'm running a business, and they don't really treat it like that. But the other thing too is, at least for me, shiny object syndrome. I'm like a dog. I see the next thing, it's like squirrel, and I go chasing after. There's so many like ads running and stuff for lead generation this, lead generation that, and it is really hard to just like take something and focus with it, especially in the beginning, and that's just gonna destroy your cash flow and waste a ton of your time and effort. So
love it. Love it. Hey, if you guys are cool with it, I'm going to just, everyone that's still looking at their camera, I'm just going to get a couple takeaways from a couple of you guys I haven't called on, if that's all right. So Dominique, I'd love to hear, what'd you get out of today's session?
Oh, hi everybody. How are you? It's a good reminder to me that I need to really be focusing on the profitability, making sure I'm saving enough out of every single closing, not just like quarterly, but just every closing, and having an actual percentage that I take towards marketing, taxes, and even for myself, for vacation, savings, every time you have a closing, not just every once in a while by happenstance. I always love hearing everything that Dusty has to say. and just all of our great peers. We always get, things as reminders and new things. I do want to look at the profitability worksheet. I think, was that the one that said, profit for ORP, I think?
Yep, I just dropped it in the chat box a few minutes ago. It's the lowest one in the chat box. I put one that actually worked. Profit for, BIT, profit for ORP. I'll drop it one more time. That link will actually work. Also, Stacy, to answer your question about the 20%, how do you determine what your 20% is? There's actually two ways to do it. Right now, it's just math. Like, what's your top 20% right now? You could look at the amount, there's the average transaction or the lifetime value, depending on your business and what makes more sense for you. This is literally across the board, not just real estate agents, right? This is, if you're an agent, it could either be like the amount they spent per transaction or what they spent total, essentially, right? So maybe they bought a tiny house, but they bought 10 of them. They're probably in your top 20%. The other way to answer this is, what is your ideal top 20%, or what is your ideal client? Maybe right now they don't make up 20%. Maybe they make up like 4% or 3%. And by the way, guys, can we give a quick round of applause for Marlon right here? Our video guy's making a sweet video. But maybe your top client, like your ideal client, only makes up 3 or 4 or 5% of your business. You may be asking the same question we discussed earlier. How can I make the top 5% take up 50% of my schedule? Or how can I make, does that make sense? Like, all of these things you can be strategic about, and often they require getting more leads than you need from a certain source or a certain type of source. So what I mean by that is whatever you're doing that works, or whatever gets you in front of the ideal client, sometimes you probably need to pour a lot of gas on that fire so that you're generating enough leads in that specific category that's your top percentage or your ideal client. It's not always based off money. It's not always based off transactions. Maybe it's based off of personality style. Maybe it's based off of how much you like them. Like, I'm not here to tell you what you're going to do to identify your ideal client. But what I am saying is, once you figure out where to get them, you need to pour enough gas on that fire that you're getting enough of those people to fill your pipeline with enough that you don't need to do other stuff, essentially. What most people end up doing is they get stuck, and this isn't real estate, this isn't selling Cutco knives, this isn't anything. Right? This is entitled whatever, is that they don't have enough leads to hit their goals in their business without needing to work with non-ideal clients. Meaning, if you if you're having to take on deals you don't really love doing, what you need to do is generate more leads, essentially. Like, I'm being a little bit simplistic, but you need to get even more leads. Even if you're getting plenty, you need even more of the right type of leads so that you can weed out or delegate or hire out or refer out. There's a million other ways to handle it, but hopefully you guys, if you're following me, at least just nod with me. You need to find a way to have enough of the right stuff to not need the other stuff. Does that help answer your question, Stacey? You can nod with me if that does. Awesome. Let's get like 1 or 2 more takeaways. Who else wants to share? Hey, Phil, I see you there. You down to share a takeaway, man? You're muted, but I'll bring you up in just a second. There you go. Biggest takeaway, man.
Cool. You can hear me okay?
Now you're good.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. So absolutely, no, definitely, a couple of takeaways starting with Michael is, the lead generations. Obviously, if you're looking to make a 6-figure income, having those specific amount of lead generations, 10 to 15. If you're looking to go 7 figures, which would be a next step for me and Yulia, having 20, 25 to 30 lead generations, but actually, not just having them, but what's working for you, using them, and not just, having all these different lead generations and going to the wayside. That, and just making a couple of tweaks I liked as far as contacting, the lead right away, as far as, getting to them right away. And just maybe, double calling them right there and then tweaking out and send those little text messages, to try to get them to respond, because, most people won't, call you back if they know who you're calling. So we tend to leave, call and not leave a message and try to call back, but making those little small tweaks, we're going to implement that in our team. And then definitely a big one is definitely managing your finances. Me and Yulia learned that, early on in our career. Our first, big, year in real estate, we made a ton of money, did not have an LLC set up, didn't have a PA set up. And we had a big tax liability, and thank God, we now are debt free when it comes to that with the IRS. But that's one thing we share with a lot of new agents is you definitely be in 1099. You need to set money aside for taxes. Absolutely.
Amen to that. Amen. Mm-hmm. Let's get 1 or 2 more. Let's see, Emily, you've been on a few of these. Can I call on you? Can I get your biggest takeaway? I think you're unmuted. Let's hear it.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, whoops. Now you're. Go ahead.
Okay. I really appreciate how candid everyone was. All the speakers and even some of the people just now just talking about their experience with preparation for the taxes and with managing the money, because that definitely is an experience that I can relate to. So I appreciate that. And then also I really liked the feeling or the concept of it being a legacy that you're leaving for your family or for the world or whoever, however you pick to do that. That is something that I think is a slightly a responsibility, but also a real benefit and a real gift that we have to give.
Love it. Absolutely. So let's get one or two more takeaways and then we'll just wrap this thing up. Thank you guys all for joining us. Jennifer, are you cool if I call on you? You can just shake your head if you're cool with that. I'm gonna call on you then. I just unmuted you. Go for it. What'd you get out of today?
I'll piggyback on what Emily just said about in the Bible, it says leaving a legacy for your children's children. And Dan had mentioned that. And I thought that was like something that really struck my heart. And also just about, I've gone through some personal hardships recently, and hearing him talk about what is God preparing me for and what do you need me to learn right now. That was pretty powerful. And of course, then just the lead follow-up. I took some notes about the 3 times a day, first 3 days, 3 times a week, first 3 weeks, 3 times a month, first 3 months. That's something that I could certainly benefit from doing, because I think a lot of times it's easy to contact people a couple of times and then just kind of let that ball fall. And just using different ways of following up. I really want to incorporate more video text messages. That's something that I have done, and I found success with that during the quarantine and during this pandemic. So I want to continue on with that. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here and thankful for all of you for sharing all the comments and for you putting these on, Aaron.
Love it. Love it. And thank you for that. I'm going to call on Andre if that's cool with you in just a second, but I do want to share one other thing, and that is that Dan shared some really good advice with me yesterday that I think those of you that are still listening would really appreciate. And he was talking about how what do we do it all for? Like the legacy we want to live, and maybe it's for your kids or maybe it's for other people. Like for me, I don't have kids, but he was talking about the legacy. Like, what are you doing it all for then? It's not just to serve like yourself, and it's never been. But he said, if you just died, which I almost did, if you just died, like you're not really leaving that significant of a legacy beyond everyone like remembering you and those types of things. So he got me thinking about how maybe the money needs to be tied to a charity. Maybe it needs to be tied to a cause, to a community, to a group of people, whatever that is. Like, and for a lot of you, maybe you are, obviously your family needs to be taken care of first. But if you knew that a percentage of what you were earning was going to go to a great, phenomenal cause, then your why becomes so much bigger than yourself, because earning like significant income is now for a reason, like for a cause, like a problem you want to stand for and solve in the world. And I'm a big believer that that can drive us to do a lot more if we realize our purpose is much bigger than our personal goals or even our family's goals. So that was a thought that I just thought I'd share with you guys that really resonated with me. But I'm gonna call on you, Andre, because you usually spit some fire, and I got you on camera now. But go ahead, Andre. What'd you get out of today?
Oh, man, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Talk about, time very, very well spent. So thank you for putting this on, and the fact that it's free for everybody here in Orlando to get better, to learn from. I think it's amazing, man. So thank you for doing that. I think the biggest thing is just, it's a reminder that as real estate professionals, we are business people. And I find that a lot of times realtors, when we first get into the business, our goal is to sell that first house, make it through our first year. But then, if once you start making money, you have to quickly shift and realize, hey, this is a business. I'm a businessman, right? I'm a businesswoman. And, if you don't have your finances in order, it's kind of like, LeBron James and, Lakers and Miami Heat, playing the NBA championship without a scoreboard, right? Would we really see LeBron James, killing it at the level he is and these players excelling? No, we wouldn't. Because ultimately what gets measured gets improved. And I think that the P&L part, I can't stress that enough. I know I've had challenges, my first couple years in the business, or I would say first 10 years in the business, because I came in, and I didn't have that business acumen, if you will. And I just came in, I was good with people and I loved what I did. And then you quickly start figuring out, like some of the guys on here and ladies mentioned, like if you don't understand your numbers pretty quickly, you're going to be in trouble with the IRS. And, I think the biggest thing that I would share with people is just make sure that you have a destination in mind. I find that, in our industry, a lot of realtors, or a lot of people in general, right? We have, whether it be credit issues, right? We're still paying car loans. We're still paying our home loans. And, the fact that, Veronica is exceeding at the level that she is, and Dan is debt free. And, some other people said the word debt free. I think that's awesome. I think that the fact that we are in real estate, I think it's a vehicle, and we need to use that, and really maximize that, obviously for our family's sake, but also to be able to pay it forward. So I really, really love the topic. I think doing more of this, it would be amazing. So, just the entire session was unbelievable. I love the topic on profitability and running your business like a business.
I love it. Thank you very, very much. I want to get one or two more people. And if Dusty is around, or if he can hear me, I'm going to let him chime in, share any last thoughts if he comes back to the computer. But Octavian, you've got such a nice setup there. If you can hear me, Octavian, I'd love to call on you. And it's that Dusty's back, so I'm going to call on him actually. Dusty, any last thoughts or things that you're getting from these people, or things you want to reflect back to the group now that you've heard some of the takeaways?
It's really good. I think they got the value and they've got the direction to head in. And to me, it's interesting because when you get, I'm not actually a numbers guy. I don't even file my own taxes. So I'm not an accountant, but when you get the numbers out of the way, then you can really get on to living the life you want. So that's why I keep coming back. Every time I look at a business owner and their books are just a nightmare, I'm like, look, this, the bookkeeping, the numbers, that can be solved very, very cheaply and inexpensively to get you those good numbers that are going to really free up space in your mind and life.
Love it. All right. Any last questions for Dusty? Because otherwise, or things you want to share, because otherwise we're going to wrap this thing up. Anyone else want to share something or have any questions for Dusty? Just raise your hand literally right there and I'll call on you. All right, Crystal, I got you. 1 second. Go for it.
You said you were going to do the raffle.
I'm going to go through the email. It shows up in my email, so I have to pull them all up and I'll reach out to one of you guys.
I was just curious about that.
Sorry about that. I wish there was an easy way to do it in Zoom. Let's put it that way. But if you filled it out, I'll throw you in there and I'll definitely reach out. Hey, the Tax Cure website didn't work properly. It might be spelled wrong because you wrote it. Dusty, what's the right phone number for you, or what's another way to reach you?
407-437-8871.
All right, perfect. I'm putting that in the chat box. Whoops, I just put it to Andre, not everyone. Let's put it right here. Everyone can see it now. All right, we're going to wrap this thing up. Thank you guys. Those of you who are still here, let's give a round of applause to Dusty and all of our other speakers. We'd love if you'd leave us a review on Orlando Real Producers on Facebook. And if you have any questions, I'll stick around for a few minutes as you guys jump off. But if anyone else has any questions, make sure you join us November 19th for the last Masterclass Orlando of the year. I promise it will be amazing. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you guys have an amazing day. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you at our November 5th party if you're in the top 500, and back at Harry Buffalo for Masterclass next January if you're not. Thank you guys for joining us. And we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, guys. Take care. All right. Anyone have any questions or anything else that you wanted to ask, wanted to give feedback on, anything like that before we wrap this up for those of you that are left? Anybody have something? If not, we are good to go. All right, guys. Take care. Thank you, guys. Hopefully you got something out of that, and I hope you have an awesome day. And if you need to buy closing gifts, give me a call. Take care, guys.